we were doing what we were always doing, as you were doing what you're always doing before the show. That was BSing. Hell, even Common Sense was BSing out here, I see. And I see some of the Magic Bollocks as also. I see some of the usual suspects already with Jensen Quinn and Susie Monkey. Hello, everybody. I'm going to try to do both today like I usually do, but I don't know. We got some funny stories. And, oh, thank you, Mrs. Ogre. And on the beginning of, I mean, we'll be drinking our meals for 2 days. Just juice, you know, fresh from fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. And then after that, we'll go a couple days of raw stuff like carrots, and I'll still drink juice, you know, carrots and a lot of avocados, bananas. If you're a man now, don't eat more than 2 bananas a day, not because they look like penises. It's because the potassium in them, you know, if you can get too much of a good thing. And bananas are high in potassium. That helps with your joints, helps you feel good, does a lot of good things for your body. But too much of it, I mean, how do they kill a person when they give them lethal injection? It's sodium pentothal, which is basically potassium. There's potassium sulfate and sodium pentothal. Anyway, guess to make a long story short, I feel like the wires are hitting on all cylinders. So I may be, you know, focusing on the conversation, the stories we're talking about more than I am looking over in the chat. Gotta tell y'all, no matter what you decide to do, because hopefully the boys will tell me what they think about this little survey that I did on over there on the twat, on the Twitters, on the Twitter handles. And we might start with that if it's all right with you boys. But I think this is some good advice. Whether you take it or not, it's your business. I'm not saying you're going to die young or that you, whatever, you're going to get sick or get cancer or anything if you don't do it. But good advice that I don't usually take, but I do often. Try to fast 1 day a week. You know, it sounds crazy. And that could mean, for a lot of people, a fast could mean not just water, but it could mean fruit juice. And for a lot of people, a fast would be simply just giving up fried foods and meats and eating nothing but raw for a day. You could consider that a fast. It's like purists would be like, oh, you know, Mr. Ogre's not a real hippie, man. He's forever taking off the rolls, dude. No, I wouldn't say that. I'm just saying that there's levels of things. And a fast, by definition, would mean no water. I mean, nothing would pass your lips except for air. So, you know, if you say you do a fast for 3 days and you're drinking water, I guess, and you're a purist, I guess you're lying then too. So do whatever it is in life that makes success. But I hope, boys, as I said, I might be focusing because, I don't, you know, it just feels good. It's like a euphoric feeling. It's almost like a free buzz when you do these, when you decide to make some of these health choices. And I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy. Could be placebo, but I doubt it. I highly doubt it. So anyway, I asked a question, what are you going to do for your New Year's resolution? And I'm just fumbling all over trying to find this daggone tweet. Oh, I know where I found it earlier. It was in my notifications right here. Here it is. So the question was, what will your New Year's resolution be this year? And whereas I can't read out all the answers, the questions are the ones to choose from were lose weight, quit doing drugs or drinking, start or finish education, or nothing. New Year's resolutions don't work. And as you can see here on screen, the resounding winner was nothing. New Year's resolutions don't work. Lose weight, a second at 38%, and start or finish education was 8%. And that's it, boys. I kind of gilded the lily long enough. What do y'all think about New Year's resolutions? Would you have picked one of these? And if you didn't, I guess I should say, if you didn't pick one, what would it have been? And if you did pick one, Common Sense, which was it?
My one was the one that won, which was nothing, as New Year's resolutions just don't work. If you're going to do something, why would you pick a single day to say, I'm going to start this point? If you want it to work, you would do it from the point that you decided you're going to do it, not to say that you're going to, I'm going to wait till New Year's, and then after New Year's, I'm then going to do this. If you really want to do it now. Why wait?
Yeah. So sorry, Butter. I won't do the accent anymore. Yeah, and I'll pass it on. I'll read along. I want to know what you think too, Magic Bollocks. What you may have picked if you would have picked any.
I'm not giving up anything. I quite like everything as it is at the moment. Just because some, you know, fatties and alcoholics think they can try and improve their lot on the 1st of January, why do I have to suffer with them? That's their problem.
I resemble that remark, my friend. I resemble that remark.
Now, come on, common sense. You know that's not true. I've seen the real picture of you, mate, and even I would.
Oh, yeah, cool.
He goes on, but I you know, he looks in good shape to me. I'm not a doctor, though. I gotta say that. I think that it all comes down to how you feel, and for sure, the best points made are, yeah. I mean, wait, nope. I did make a spiel at the beginning, but I hope I was clear. I don't think you have to do those things and I want the best for everyone. What works for me or someone else may not work for you or someone else. But anyway, yeah, New Year's resolutions are bollocks.
Pretty much.
That was
they're
the whole
not
point
magic
of
bollocks,
doing
though.
this.
They're
No,
not magic.
no, they're just straight up bollocks from a bull.
Yep.
Yeah, because magic bollocks works. Normal bollocks don't.
Exactly. What? Wait, what? Let's do a news story.
I was going to say this is just a fine example of how this stream's going to be. If everybody's you know, a little concerned at the moment.
No, we're moving right along. That's a lot better, boys. This is actually on a lot higher level. So children leave the room. Apparently, there is someone, according to the Telegraph, known as Wanksy. And the Telegraph writes today, meet the man using penises to fill potholes. A Manchester man known as Wanksy is using penis graffiti to force councils to fill potholes, and it seems to be working. It's not often that penis graffiti could be said to be doing a civic good, but on the streets around Bury and Ramsbottom near Manchester, one man has employed crudely drawn male genitalia in a bid to attract the local council's attention to potholes, and it seems to be working. Within 48 hours of the anonymous artist's work appearing, many of the potholes have been filled within 2 days, mates. The man calls himself Wanksy, in a nod to the celebrated street artist Banksy, told the Manchester Evening News. The roads of Manchester are in an appalling state, especially around Bury. I have cyclist friends who have been hospitalized, of course, and it says they damage vehicles sometimes. It's hard to know which pothole caused the damage because there's so many, and it goes on. So here you go, folks, an example. The reason I picked this story, in case anyone's curious right now, scratching their head as they look at this crudely drawn phallus there, because it's sometimes what one person would look at as crude and say that it has no place, that there'd be no use for this thing in society. Well, I believe this story proves my point that all things could have a use in society. There you go, boys.
Yeah.
Common sense.
No, definitely. You're definitely right there. I think the story has a twofold point on this. One being, why does it take somebody drawing penises and whatever to be able to get the council to actually do their work? If the graffiti after it's drawn takes 2 days for them to come across and then fill the hole, why can't they fill the hole anyway? Why do they have to wait until somebody draws on it to fill the hole? It's not like they don't have the money then to actually do it. It's a case that they just don't want to. They're holding on to it, which then adds another point of contention. Why are they only holding on to the money and not actually doing the actual road fillings? Why are they waiting until people are now graffitiing over the top of these holes to make sure that they actually get done and filled in, so to speak? That's one part of it. Second of all, you've got what Ogre's just said. There's always a use for everything. Everything has a use. Even wasps, as much as everybody would hate wasps in general, they still accidentally fertilize different plants. They accidentally go across and they eat aphids and things like that and keep things in the garden quite to a proper level. So everything has a place in life. Otherwise, it wouldn't be put there in the first place. And you can find uses for anything. I just find that this story is a little bit weird simply because it's a case that if you've got penises that are being drawn and the council then fills it up, why can't the council actually just do their job and fill the potholes up? Simple, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good point. Magic.
Yeah, you pretty much said what I was thinking anyway. Common sense. The council has a wonderful knack of taking your money and then not doing very much with it. But I mean, I will give this Wanksy kudos for the fact that he's done something that he knew was going to get what he wanted done, while at the same time getting a nice bit of attention as well, which is because it is effectively a big middle finger to the council, which is, we know you're not going to like this, but we don't like the fact you're not doing what you're paid to do, you useless bastards. And I'm trying to think of what else could you actually put down other than a, you know, gigantic erect prick that was actually going to get their attention. I suppose swastika.
I have an idea. You can use the hole, and then on the outside of the hole, you can fill it with curtains. A beef curtain.
I was going to say, with bits of beef by any chance.
Exactly.
Mercy sake.
What, people wear it on their heads nowadays? Surely it's in fashion.
Oh, man. No.
The irony would be lost on them, common sense. You know that.
Damn it.
It's very, very funny, though. I got to say that. No, but you were saying swastikas. And the difference is this story would be being covered in a whole nother way, because they're not even really calling this person a perv. They're just saying that he used some pretty tasteless graffiti. But, you know, if you think about it, if somebody uses swastika, now they would fill the hole in pretty quickly, but be a hate crime. And who knows who drew the swastika? It could have been a Jewish person or a black person or something. I mean, when it comes down to it, you can look it up yourself and you find 10 or 12 different vehicles that will show you the falsely reported hate crimes. And most of the time when they do a retraction, be it in the newspaper and print or in the media, the visualized media, they do it in a way that you've got to be looking for it. It's very quick. Even if they make a mistake in the news with it. So in other words, there's swastikas and Run Negro Run was painted across this Baptist church in Fayetteville last night. And they go on with this story to make a big deal. And of course, the two announcers are there. Can you believe this, Jane? These white supremacists that are everywhere. And they go on with this. And then they find out, of course, that it was a 56-year-old black guy that was pissed off and wanted attention. And the retraction will be 3 weeks later. They'll have a little written thing after the 11 o'clock news that you have to have a mic, you know, to record it to stop it because it goes by so fast. And then when you get your magnifying glass out and read it, it says, we made a slight mistake on the story about swastikas on the Baptist church in Fayetteville. Sorry. And that's it. And you're going, huh?
See, I don't think that they would actually do that. I think what they would do is they would actually turn the story. I think they would actually turn the story to the point of saying that the 56-year-old black man has been turned into an Uncle Tom through the point of being indoctrinated by the evil right-wing Nazis.
Yeah, he's got internalized white supremacy, isn't he?
Exactly. Microaggressions.
Exactly.
He didn't even know. It's intersectional.
Yeah. He probably on the weekend gets a tin of a white emulsion and paints himself and then goes around calling himself Clive or something.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's whitewashed. He's whitewashed.
Yeah, whitewashed.
An Oreo, black on the outside, white on the inside, like Jesse Lee Peterson or coffee with Tim Black or something like that.
Oh, dear.
Or Tommy Sotomayor. I just meant those are some real boys now. Black is cold, but they're just real dudes. They're just dudes. The only reason I say they're black is because they are, and you can tell by looking at them. But I think they subscribe to the Morgan Freeman school of thought. Yeah.
Well, I'll do anything for money.
That has got to be controversial.
I'm not even going to refute it. I don't know Morgan Freeman. I'm not going to stand up for him. And everybody probably knows. If you didn't know what I was talking about, it was too old of a reference anyway.
I don't care about knowing Morgan Freeman. I only care about knowing his PIN number.
Oh, it would be nice. You know, I can say one good thing about him. He bought a town in Mississippi, I want to say. I believe it, almost positive. It was Alabama. Mississippi, where he was born and raised. That was just dead. Everything had closed. They closed the gas station. He opened everything up. Of course, they know that he owns it all. And you can find him a lot of nights at the bar that he owns, half drunk in a corner. You know, Morgan Freeman sitting there, just had his meal, pounding down his gin and tonics. And so I thought that was cool. He brought a lot of, he resurrected his town. But I guess you couldn't do that if you weren't bloody really wealthy from doing the other thing, could you?
Well, it wouldn't really matter if you were really wealthy. It's more to do with the fact that his name's there. If he was able to get the bar open by himself, he'd be able to regenerate the actual populace anyway, because more people would want to come and see him in the bar, which means businesses would end up propping up around him anyway to take advantage of people coming to see him. You know, like attractions like, I don't know, Nine Flags do. There's all loads of stuff that's always around Nine Flags in itself. It didn't just start with a roller coaster and then ended up being what it is today. Oh, yeah, sorry, it did.
Sure did. Nine Flags? No kidding. I never heard of it. We have Six Flags here.
That's the one. Sorry, mate.
Oh, I thought you had like 3 extra flags over there in Europe and in Great Britain or something.
No, it's just that I really just don't care.
I like roller coasters. Just went to Cedar Point, was the last amusement park that I went to with Mrs. Ogre, and I enjoy. There's some I won't get on. They had well, I'm not even going to go in that direction. It's completely off topic. Maybe we'll talk about roller coasters one day.
The up and downs of life.
Yeah. In fact, boys, we got a bunch of stories. This went. We took off of what you said there.
Yeah, sorry.
With the no, that's cool. I'm just going to give him the last word on this if he wants it. Unless, of course, everybody can have their last word. Someone wants to close out on this, but that's where I'm at and go on to the next story. We got some doozies coming up, folks. What do you think, Magic?
I don't really know what to think, to be honest, Mr. Ogre. It is. I would like to potentially shake that man's hand, although potentially I'll need to wash my hand afterwards because he's obviously got a bit of an obsession with genitalia. So, but I'm sure he's a very nice bloke, and he's pissing the council off, so he gets a pass from me.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, we were talking about sex robots, so I just want to. I don't have much to say about this. I'm going to quickly read. This is from Entertainment. I guess that's it. Entertainment Weekly or something to that effect. The link's there, so I'm not doing them any disrespect or any blighting. You can see it in the low bar. Black Mirror creature explains that metalhead robot nightmare. So they just did this, and there is this dog, this thing. It does exist. It can carry weight. It can run pretty fast, and they could put anything they wanted on it. It says, we've all seen movies and TV shows about killer robots, but until Netflix's new season of its future shock anthology drama, Black Mirror, never before have we seen a terrifying vision of machines run amok that so clearly resembles the design of actual real-life robots. That's why I went through all that. I didn't want to try to give any kind of advertisement to any company that's already been mentioned. They can all kiss my butt. But namely, those Boston Dynamics dogs. If y'all haven't seen that, check that out soon. The Boston Dynamics dogs that have impressed the world with their remarkable balance, speed, and dexterity, yet also unavoidably make you wonder, what if one was chasing me? Such viral videos were the inspiration for Metalhead, a gripping Black Mirror episode which begun streaming Friday. Below series creator Charlie, blah, 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 blah. So I think that's enough for me. This is just more explanation of this thing. I'm not going to give a long commercial for. Do you boys ever consider what the possibilities could be, and that maybe someone would consider predictive programming, like iRobot and Terminator and Ghost in the Machine and all of these things? That maybe... I
just have one question. How is that thing in the picture anything to do with sex robots?
You know, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Oh, no, I just wanted to show the other side of it. And remember, if they made a sex robot that had, actuators that were pulling tiny titanium cables, that the robot looked like a sexy, pliable woman and was, for all intents and purposes, but weighed 275 pounds and could just go and crush freaking take a metal bar and go, consider that. That's what I'm trying to say. So yes, there was 2 things that I was tying in. One, even the sex robot could be bad, but we will consider that part for now is simply good. We've just tried to leave off what I said. And now here's an example of, okay, if we're going to have the good, the sex robots, we got it. This is what comes with it, boys. That was
Well, I suppose if you were to stick a load of wool on it and bore a hole in the back, I'm sure RPR would consider it a sex robot, wouldn't they?
Oh man!
To be fair, mate, you're from the nearest area as well around him. So if you're going to start doing stuff like that,
don't pick on me. I was just going for the lowest hanging fruit.
Okay.
I was trying to somehow see how that could actually be some kind of sex robot. I'm sure to somebody it would be. And, you know, somebody said in the chat is that, yeah, you probably program it to hump somebody's leg. You probably program it to drag its arse on the floor as well, but that's not particularly sexy.
you got to get it come out some way.
What's happening? I just think that there could be a direction that would be bad with a robot.
What, down or up?
With a base for robots in our society. There's a downside for it. I see this thing running, and I could think of all the sexy robots I want, doing all the sexy things in the world, or feet, or whatever the fetish may be for someone, and they could make something perfect for you. But I will always consider that while they're doing that, the government, man, when they see things work, what do? They say, oh yeah, well, you're working for them, making this much money. Well, we're classifying your stuff whether you like it or not, because it's national security, whether you like it or not. So you might as well just work for us, and we'll pay you more money. And you know, you get dogs chase you down the street, fucking eating you, just like the Hunger Games, man. At the end of the first one, and they're like, the dogs come up, they're like, okay, oh, look at this, and the dude man comes, oh, nice, and fucking right out of the ground, and just, oh Lord.
To be fair, if I'll do the story properly.
No, it's good. It's good for comic relief. This is the last show of the year. Cheers, boys. I would never have went that far, but it's hilarious.
to take this story seriously, yeah, if you had some type of robots, as you said before, like the Boston dogs, that can literally balance, jump, and spin, even to the fact where they can do an elevated backflip, because that's how agile they are, is chasing after you. Do you honestly think that normal people, and I am saying normal people as an average, as a generalization, people that don't really run anywhere, that are office workers and things like that, do you think that we're going to be able to outrun those type of things? Hell no, we're not. So if something goes completely and utterly wrong with the programming, then how are we going to be able to stop that, remembering that this thing is made out of steel and encased wiring, meaning that we wouldn't even be able to get anything off without trying to break it? Meaning, first of all, we would need weapons to be able to do anything to it. Because remember that these things can self-right themselves as well. It's not a case that you just kick them over and then you can run away. It doesn't work like that. You've actually got to try and work out of a way of actually trying to destroy these things with no weapons, nothing. And it's the whole idea, is what we said before, of Terminator and stuff like that, iRobots. It's the case of, yeah, they are little dog things at this moment in time that are chasing you, or could have the potential to chase you. But what happens when they start making them into men? Or into humanoid shapes? What actually happens at that point? Are we going to try and fight them off when they can fight at the same speed, if not quicker than us? With all
if they got a sex robot that can move around and do everything, they will have the other robots that can do that too. And I just wanted everyone to remember one thing. In the modern mythos, of course, they always show, not always, like the Terminator, I don't remember any of the Terminators ever recoiling, but think about Star Wars. They always show even the droidicas and the droids, they have this reflex of they actually care if a lightsaber's coming their way. If they program this dog to attack you, there's no hesitation, there's no stop, until a battery's done. There's nothing but kill you. They don't even care. Would take a hacker too, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be a doomsayer either. Bollocks ain't saying shit. Bollocks is like, I just want to talk about the naked ones with nice titties.
Well, even if you're going to talk about the actual sex robots in themselves, you could quite easily use them as surveillance tools, having a camera put into the eyes, having some sort of microphone embedded in the skin or something somewhere. You could quite easily do that and then change the world by being able to get dictators and people that are politicians and people that have got money and things like that, using something like this and recording any of the conversations or whatever, and then blackmailing them. It still works the same way. So everything can still work out that way. And if you've got ones that can move around, what's to say that one of them won't decide that they're going to squeeze a little bit too hard and then just flatten you like that? It's a very scary thing when people are saying, oh, yeah, we can use these and these look absolutely lifelike and they can move around and things like that. It's quite a worrying point, to be honest with you. Simply because what happens when they start getting their own AIs? Because eventually that will be the next step. As soon as you can make them as humanoid as possible, it will then be a case of making them self-learning. And as soon as you make something self-learning, that basically gives them the idea of having that consciousness, because then they learn about themselves. You can
If it does develop AI common sense, do you think it's going to learn human AI, or is it actually going to start behaving like a dog? Is it actually going to start, you know, panting at you 6:30 in the morning? Is it going to start, you know, climbing on top of you while you're trying to sleep?
That's the thing with AI. Even if it starts off as just as a dog AI, if it has a continuous capacity to be able to relearn and reshape its own thought and reformat its programming, it can be anything it wants to be. It can do anything it wants to do. It can then learn how to remake and reshape itself. It can then make itself on a factory line and be able to do exactly what it wants. If it's an AI that's given it unlimited potential, it can do what it wants.
You know, you've just basically come up there with a new plot for a film, haven't you?
I have indeed.
Yeah.
Common Sense Guy Media copyrighted. But no, that is something that actually...
I'm queuing something up, gentlemen. It's the last story on robots I think I'll do for a while. And it wasn't only because the cool promo that you did, but it was part of it. And I just kept thinking about robots. I kept thinking, all right, I'm married, I believe in an attractive wife, so I don't have the need for some of these things. But if I didn't, and I was, you know, I could see the benefits.
Well,
you know, if I could have a Mrs. Ogre that was totally just you charged her up at night, but yet she still wouldn't did it. You know, where do I sign?
Yeah. Well, we established last week, didn't we, Mr. Ogre, that yourself and Mrs. Ogre are actual full-blown digiphobes, aren't you? Because you wouldn't let them into your house, would you?
No.
Even if they were prepared to do all the chores, fix you well, and get your internet working brilliantly.
Nope.
Just because of the thought that your mate might be fucking her when he gets her home.
That's not the only reason. It's just it would be a severe aversion to those things getting into our society, because eventually they're going to have rights. I'm trying to find
the one in the one in Iran.
Okay. All right. Look, let me. I'm gonna set to switch the microphone. Then you won't be able to hear me. But I'm sure I can screen share this. And oops, was that the wrong one? Yes. Hang on, the wrong one. I know that I can screen share this, and then I can do one more thing, and you should be able to hear it. If y'all can't hear it, just let me know, and I'll try to make another adjustment. Oh, my microphone probably sucks right now, doesn't it? That would be better on my microphone, I bet, when we get back. But here, I just made a couple changes. I'm trying to do it so that it's not so herky-jerky. Here you go.
5 simple words that have been repeated by every American president throughout history. I, Donald John.
Lock him up! 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 Lock him!
Oh my gracious! I'm assuming y'all could hear that.
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck? There's kids there. Why are you making a political statement when it's just kids? It's a Disneyland place, for God's sake.
And here you go. It's not. He's addressing an animatron. He's addressing nothing. He's addressing nothing. He's addressing. It would be like looking at the picture and doing that. It's just a little bit of crazy to me to think that. Oh man. Maybe one day we won't need a president, because we'll just have, just like the sex robots and the vicious dogs they send to attack us, they'll just be like, we've got the politician model 70109 or politician number 666 this year to vote on. And
See,
just,
I don't think that would happen. If there's anything else that you could look at this point of view, you can look at it from a humanistic point of view, and think if anybody was invading us, all they would have to do is give men sex robots, and then take away women, and then obviously get rid of women in general, and then you basically control the world anyway, because all you have to say is, we'll take away your sex robots, and then we'll vote any way you want to. And that's just as simple as that one on that one. On that, that's the easiest way of taking over any country. Give the men what they want sexually, take away the women.
Yeah. Well, look at not say I disagree, but I would say there's an example we have in Japan where, man, they're just, sex is almost dying out there. They are the head of this revolution too. Mark my words, they'll be at the very tip of the spear, so to speak, of the the robot revolution with the sex bots.
Well, the thing is, another thing with the sex robots, as you quite rightly, even though you were joking about it, if you were able to get one, would you spend any time with your wife, or would you be trying to spend time with the robot that's going to let you do anything that you want to it? I mean, most men, if you're going to be honest, are going to say, well, no, I'll talk to the missus, but I want to be in that room and I want to do what I can for a while. So it's a case of, our human interaction is going to be exactly the same as what they would be before? Of course they're not. If you get a teenager that's going to go and be able to buy a sex robot, is that person going to be able to be socially inept to be able to talk to anybody? Of course they will do, because they're going to think that there's something to do with a robot. And that's the way that their social interaction goes. That's where that person is getting the most love and the most interaction from. So it's a case of, you've got to look at it from a societal point of view. If you increase these type of things, yes, sex is a good thing. I'm not going to deny that, obviously. I'm a man. I like that. But at the same point, it has to be with a woman or the opposite sex, or what sex that you like, as long as it's consensual. So at that point, if you're going to do something with a robot, you're taking away the interaction of actually having it. You might as well be having it with a beast.
Yeah. A sheep, even?
Oh, well, back to RPR again.
No.
Sorry. I should behave now.
Oh, no,
yeah,
I was actually, Boggs, very quickly, keep that idea. I was just saying, Boggs, now it's your turn to say something completely socially unacceptable and outrageous. crack on, man.
You know me too well now, Mr. Ogre. Yeah,
not too well, but I'm starting to learn.
I do understand exactly what common sense is saying, because they can make them as realistic as they possibly can. They can get them, they can talk and understand you. They can do, chores around the house. But I think half the fun of when you are having sex is knowing that you're doing a good job because they're enjoying it as well. And there is no way a robot can ever understand enjoyment in that respect. Even with AI, I don't think they can ever fully, a robot will never be able to have that sort of sensation that a human can have.
I disagree. I disagree with that, simply because all that the sensation is of feeling something is electrical impulses. And if you've got an AI that can read the electrical impulses, it can read if it's good or if it's bad. As in, if you squeeze too hard, it can read.
Holy crap!
Thing is, though, that's just data, isn't it? That's not necessarily. Yeah, it's not exactly feelings, but
nor is actually. We only call it feelings because we try to understand what the data is that's coming into our brain. It's literally only what we've socially constructed. We call it feelings because we feel pain. Pain in itself is just data that is going to the brain and then expressed in our brain. It's just the fact that we don't actually know what the data is. It's still the same thing.
Yeah, I think what's happening here is common sense. You're actually arguing yourself into thinking that you can shag a sex robot who will actually enjoy it. So technically speaking, if that is possible, then there isn't much to differentiate it from the real thing. The only thing you can't do is obviously procreate.
Well, that's the difference, though, isn't there? Because we're trying to say that the AI in itself is going to be to the point of just being a robot. We're not trying to say that the actual AI in itself is going to be able to talk and walk and do what it wants. Because otherwise, you might as well stay with a woman. Because otherwise, that robot's going to follow you around all the time trying to be as luring as possible. I mean, there would have to be a certain parameter that would work at. So it means that we'd be trying to replace women in general. So what would be the point, apart from being able to turn the switch to say, oh, we can have sex now? Admittedly, yeah, that's a good idea, maybe for us, but as you quite rightly said, procreation in itself will not happen, meaning that us as a human species would die out for our own bloody inequities of working out that we need to put our penises into female vaginas to be able to make babies, because we think, well, what's the point in spending all that time making and formulating a relationship with a woman when we can just go into our bedrooms and fuck around with a doll, so to speak.
Very true.
It feels and talks to us, so it must be real.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you'll always know it's fake, though. Just one thing will always give it away. It won't. It won't answer back.
Yeah, yeah.
The second it does, you know it's real.
Yep. Yeah. AI's gone too far then.
Obviously, that'll be a sort of feminist version of AI, won't it?
It would, yes.
Because eventually, I should imagine, if they are going to advance to our level, they will eventually become social justice warriors.
You have just literally added to my movie that I'm going to make, the social justice warrior hacking division that is going to go to each and every house and hack the sex robots individually to make it more feminist.
Well, the thing is, ever since finding out about that term digisexual last week, I'm absolutely adamant to get digiphobia into the lexicon somehow.
Oh no, mercy.
Because I'm sure they would take it up, wouldn't they?
Oh man, they want that, I'm sure, but because this is what that spells out my biggest horror. That puts like dogs attacking me that are robots in the shade. Is the idea of what you're talking about, where they are now assigning rights. That's why, I mean, I don't disagree with common sense completely. I just can't entertain the thought that, well, if it's data being processed by something, yes, it could be pleasure, because then you'd have to assign it rights. Makes me think of a movie called Heavy Metal. It was a cartoon. John Candy was in it. Harold Ramis. A bunch of famous people were in it. Anyway, they come down from outer space, these aliens, and they abduct this really hot secretary during a board meeting in the Oval Office. Anyway, and this woman falls in love with a robot, and the robot loves her. The robot is played by John Candy, and they're discussing it in bed. Anyway, she's smoking a cigarette. She's like, "I never thought I could be pleasured like that by a man." She's got like a really heavy Brooklyn accent. And he's like, "Yes, I can be very professional in bed." Whoop, 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 whoop. He's got like a thing on his hand. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Anyway, when I think about that, it's, yeah, I'm sure, you can love, because we talked about the other day. Crazy people fall in love with their cars. I mean, and they want to they want to procreate with it without baking babe. I don't know what to call it. They want to have sex with it. Anyway, I got a really crazy one for y'all here. We can go on with this all night, but this is, man, I'll tell you, I had both. There was no winner.
Before we move on,
of course,
I just wanted to say that, yeah, crazy people fall in love with their cars and things like that, but people fall in love with manga pictures. People fall in love with pillars that have different things on top of them. And some people fall in love with bloody blow-up dolls. Some people fall in love with blow-ups. Everything. Everybody has their own sort of sexual gratification or sexual fetish. Some people like feet, some people don't. Some people like breasts, some people like asses. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's a case that if you like women, you can then go to a robot that has any sort of side effect that looks like it's a physical being, and then go, well, I like that, and then use that as your fetish, as in your sexual gratification. Because sexual gratification is not necessarily the physical side of doing it. As you well know, Ogre, it's also the mental side of doing it. Being psychology, that's the best thing that you can do, is the mental gratification from your sexual experiences.
Yeah, releases a lot of endorphins too, and it's an opiate rush. A lot of things happen when we copulate, for sure. Yep. No matter how the copulation takes place. By the way, it's a part of Maslow's hierarchy. I've seen it mocked. I've seen it made fun of in a movie. She didn't mention Maslow's hierarchy, but oh man. John Cusack was playing in a movie. I want to think it was not called, whatever it was. He had a quickie affair with this woman he met that was played by the girl that was on the Cosby Show, Benet, whatever. Look, I'm going to get off in the weeds every time if I keep doing this. I really will. My mind, I'm telling you, my mind's making all these connections. I had no weight down, like no booze. No weighty foods, nothing. I want to go and write my masterpiece on the guitar now with some best lyrics I've ever come up with in my life, something like that.
Is that an actual song about sex robots, Mr. Ogre?
I could do that. I could manage it probably.
I think there probably aren't that many.
You keep mocking RPR, but he's the lyric man. He's actually really good at it. He's pretty good at it.
No, I honestly think what's good that you could be the first one to the market with one. I don't think there's that many.
Yeah, I don't think there's that many either.
No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it myself. I mean, I made a bet one time. I had a guitar up right back there, and you couldn't see it very well, and you couldn't see the neck, or the headstock, I should say. But I don't know how they figured it out. Luck, it could have been luck. But I was like, if anybody can tell me what make and model that guitar is right there, I'll play any song they want. Not a day later, the answer to that was Ibanez, Art Core ICM 130 or something. I even got the number wrong. So because the ICM 130 is hanging behind me, that's the Iceman. So boom, his request: I want to fuck a dog in the ass by Blink 182. I played it, I did it, and I put it up. Now it's taken down. Now it's on private, but I left it up for about 2 months as a reminder to me. You don't challenge the internet to stuff like that.
You really don't. I have one question before we do actually move on, which I know that we're all going to move on anyway, but I do have one question, and it is really relevant to what we're talking about, and an open question to even the chat as well. At what point would you classify giving somebody rights or giving something rights? What makes the point of giving things rights? Because obviously we give rights to animals, at least we do in the UK. So not to the point of human standards, but as in rights in general. And what rights do you reckon these sex robots will be given by feminists eventually? Because they will do, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what horrifies me the most. That's what horrifies me more than the dogs. It's when someone comes out and said, you know what, I was thinking about what common sense said, and they do feel, and they enjoy sex and everything. You shouldn't be able to just rape one. This sex robot, when we replayed its camera, some guy was acting out a fetish of somebody sleeping when it was shut off, and they didn't know that this camera was on, and we can see he raped her. Oh, I mean, see what I mean? Because you could not possibly rape. In my humble opinion, say this what you will, because I'm not going to condone bestiality, okay? But the idea of people getting in trouble because they've, done something, I'm not going to really. Oh Lord, I can't believe I just talked about that with bollocks here. It's on. So I set myself up for anything. But in all honesty, see what I mean? I don't think. I mean, if anyone of any lineage wanted to do anything they wanted with a sheep, not even short of eating it, because you can cut the hair off of it and sell that. You can do whatever you want with it, to me, including these other things. Because you can't. How can you rape or do so? It's your animal. You can take it up. Anyway, I'm done. I'll rant and rant and rant because people say, now, I don't think you should be able to take that sheep, tie it up, and let it starve slowly to death on a picket. Okay,
but doesn't that mean that then you're giving that animal a right then, just right there and then, because you believe
that's wrong?
I
know. I'm just saying me now. I wouldn't argue that though. In fact, if even one person in town was saying, well, but it's my sheep, and I'm looking at it starving there in its yard, I would always stand up for that individual and say, I do not like this. This really makes me feel a little sick, and I don't like you, dude. I would say that too, and I don't like you. You better hope that I don't ever see you hungry and in the cold, friend. And I would leave it at that.
You see, in this country, fucking hell, I'm going bloody colonial.
We're still your country. We never paid for the shit, so basically, at least the East Coast is yours. So I'm close enough. Go ahead.
Well, in our country, that if you do anything like that, we have something called the RSPCA. Now, a lot of people go, "Oh yeah, they're absolutely useless." They still go out and they still take the animals off you, and they issue you a fine. And in some cases, they can issue a custodial sentencing. So in that case, under UK law, they have rights, and that's the point that I was trying to get at. That in the UK, these sex robots will probably end up having some form of rights. The question is, at what point do you give something rights?
No, never.
Really?
A robot? Never.
Well, even if it can prove that it's got conscience and its own free will?
Never. What are you doing, Dave? What are you doing, Dave? Please don't unplug me, Dave. I would unplug that shit. Be like, listen, Hal, Buy.
I suppose there is the advantage as well, as like common sense was saying earlier about all the weird fetishes. Like some people like feet, some people don't. If you are what's called, doing a robot, if you don't like feet, you can just unscrew them, can't you? One thing that's never ever going to put you off again.
If you want to stab it and roll around in its blood while you bang it in the back door with a chain in its teeth, pulling its hair. See what I mean? I mean, I can keep you get whatever you want to do. It's not real. It's not. It doesn't have I said it. No rights.
No, I understand that at this moment in time, it has no rights. I completely.
It shouldn't
agree
ever. Never.
Even if it has proper AI, even if it has proper AI,
never.
That's very.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate. That.
Why would you say that? If we would give some animals, as you quite rightly just said before, if you would give some animals the point of saying that I feel sorry for you and things like that, why wouldn't you do the same thing for a robot?
You know what? The funny thing is I often throw logs in my furnace that I know are full of insects, like termites and ants are the most. A lot of grubs, a lot of honeybees, because they burrow, they get backwards. You can see them in the summertime on a branch, a big branch. They got to have a lot of get down deep to get away from the cold. But they'll burrow in there with their splinter. You can see like they're a screw of one. You see a little, shaving fall down once in a while. They go in my furnace. So it is a uniquely human thing and a very Western thing that I'm doing and ascribing what I'm doing is anthropomorphizing. I'm ascribing human attributes and human rights on things that don't have them. So I want to be very clear. I've tried to be with the sheep, so I'll be very clear now. Much as I hate to say this, honest law would dictate that an animal has no rights. None. No rights.
We have no rights.
Even Christians would say, Christians 500 years ago would say, God put the animals here for us. That's why they extincted birds. They would just shoot them if they wanted the feather for a hat. And good Christian of all stripes back then would say, well, God put them here for us. If they get wiped out, they get wiped out. Anyway, no, robot would never. And to be honest, no, animals. I love my dog, but she was lucky. She was born and I got a hold of her. Me and my wife could both die in a car accident tomorrow. Someone else may get her and torture her. She got unlucky then.
No, that
was a long rant. Sorry about that.
No. It's a good point. Excuse me. The only point that I would actually want to come back on that is saying that don't we now change our mind on that point where we actually look and make sure that animals are not endangered before we hunt them? Hence why we have hunting seasons. As in that point in time, if it's not in deer season, you are not allowed to hunt a deer. So in that point in time, that deer has rights up until that point when the season changes. Do you see where I'm going with that point?
Yes. I've said, I made my case. I'll just go on more long rants. I would hear any arguments, and everybody's got their own opinions. I am stunned, though, that anyone, I would have assumed before this discussion that everyone would say a computer or computer program, something that looks real, that has even real feeling skin, and would even bleed a reddish looking thing that was its lubricant. Man, I would have thought that all people would have said never. But you learn something new every day.
It's not a case that I would say. Sorry, go on.
No, you go first, mate.
I was going to say that it's not the case that I would say at this moment in time I would give them rights. I'm saying that if something becomes self-aware and is self-intelligent, that can work out what's going on from themselves and then work out how to live and learn by themselves, at that point, do they not have a consciousness? At that point, do they not try to do what we do and understand what living is?
Yeah. I suppose it's that thing again about once it gets once it's self-aware, once it's got its own conscience and it can think for itself and it can, think independently of, its programmers or whoever built it, what point then does it ever become or could be acknowledged as a free-thinking individual? That's when you've got a problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the problem that I see especially is at what point do they look at this phone and say, well, we've installed the software and that phone is self-aware. And now not only can I just throw it in the garbage, I have to keep it alive, even if that phone's been so far out of date and I can't upgrade it, because of course they wouldn't keep doing that. They wouldn't quit doing that. See what I mean? So
I'm going on that premise then, just quickly on that premise. Would you say that to the same person that's a vegetable?
No, I've stumped for that many, many times. Mom was a nurse. My wife is a respiratory therapist. I'm a pragmatist and a realist, and I know, and I'm not just saying this because I feel this way. If I was a vegetable, and I know once in a while, once in a blue moon, folks, people that have been in comas for a long time or been vegetables for a long time wake up and relearn everything. And then that happens so rarely, though, that I'm still saying this for me, that if it would come down to that, I wouldn't want to. No, don't waste don't do it, because I wouldn't. But that said, I mean, no, a vegetable that is brain dead is no longer a human being. And I think you're going with, well, that's the part of the machine that we're talking about. Well, yeah, I still would only ascribe that right of ownership of sentience, ownership of self-awareness to humans only. That's it.
So what if there was an alien that come down? Would you not classify them as having sentience? No, I'm just using a different premise. If an alien was to come down that would not be actually anything to do with humanity at all, it's a slug creature or something like that. It's not even carbon based.
I can't imagine any situation whatsoever that could be brought before me right now that either has or could be yet, that where I would say that anything differently than I already have. That should only be given to human beings. In fact, I would say more so not to an alien that came here than to anything else we mentioned.
No, see, I'm not trying to say that you should give alien rights. At this point in time, the premise of my argument is the fact that I'm trying to say that the alien has sentience, and you have to give the sentience to the aliens, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to travel all that far to be able to come to invade the world. That's the point that I'm trying to say.
Well, but look, I've never said that these. Okay, I would not even argue that the computer didn't have sentience. That's never been the argument. What I'm saying is,
so what makes humans so special that we give ourselves rights, bar obviously being the same species?
We come from the gods that created this, be it the ones that were the antediluvians.
So do animals. So do animals.
Yeah, but in a different way. Why aren't they talking about this like we are right now?
Maybe they are, just not in any sort of form of language that we can understand.
No, they're not. They're just not.
I think Mr. Ogre's greatest nightmare in this situation is if the Transformers come to Earth, because you've got the aliens and the machines there, both in the same category.
I think it's time for a whale's vagina, isn't it? I think it's time for a whale's vagina.
Yeah, sure. Oh, good chin wag though. Excuse me, I'm chewing ice cubes. I would have went on, but yeah, no, definitely a whale's vagina. So this was another good story, though, mates. Excellent opinions all the way around on that. That's why I like things like that, because we could have argued about that almost infinitum. Maybe we did ad nauseum. So here we go. This is a real story. Once again, I picked it out thinking of both of my co-hosts at the same time. One did not outweigh the other, as if there were two of them swinging side by side. This is from the Daily Mail. Wife accidentally bites off her husband's testicle in a surge of excitement during aggressive lovemaking session in where? Taiwan. And here we go. The man was holding his severed testicle in a rice bowl when ambulances arrived.
Jesus.
His wife, I'm going to do it, man. I thought I could do all these bullet points without laughing. This stuff it's not easy for me. Probably other people could just do it. I mean, see TV announcers and what I do it all the time. So here we go. So, and then it goes on. His wife reportedly said, I accidentally bit it off, according to media reports. The incident occurred in the wee hours of... I had to say wee hours. I'm sorry. According to the wee hours of Boxing Day in whatever that place is, West Taiwan. The man, 51, is being treated, and his wife, 49, reportedly has a mental illness. So
that's no excuse.
Very quickly, a man in Taiwan was reportedly rushed to hospital on Boxing Day after his wife chewed off one of his testicles during an aggressive lovemaking session. When paramedics arrived at couples' homes, they apparently saw the 51-year-old man, surnamed Wang, wearing a robe and holding a severed testicle in a rice bowl, while his wife repeatedly explained, "I accidentally bit it off." Taiwan news website Apple Day reported that the man's right ball had been ripped off by his wife, surnamed Heshi. His right ball. They don't even. Heshi called an ambulance to the home around 2 a.m. on December 26. Apple Day reported that Wang works at a car repair shop. He and Heshi have been married for many years. All right, there you go. So, I mean, they were at it, and boys, I want to hear from you what your opinion is on this. Is it possible she accidentally didn't put teeth marks in it? And I know we're tender in that area, the area we're talking about. I'm not going to be too gratuitous. We'll leave that to my magic box. All right, but so the tear is tender down there, but it's pliable, but it's like a soft leather. Yeah, you can ply it around, but just try to grab it and just rip it open. Don't do that, but I'm just saying, imagine trying to grab it and just ripping it open. No, it wouldn't be easy. So the idea that it's just like oh, I'm so sorry, your bollocks is off. It wouldn't be that. It would be more of a
But doesn't this nicely go back to one of the stories we did last week about the teabagging incident with Poundland? Yeah, because common sense theory was that you would never teabag someone you love. And that's, I mean, I can't see how else a testicle accidentally ended up in her mouth. Unless it was
licking first of all, and then doing something to her that made her bite down.
Well, maybe he was trying to get her to fit his fist in her mouth, and so they were working their way up. You know, maybe you start with a testicle, then maybe a toe, and maybe several fingers, and then the full fist. But yes,
oh my goodness.
I mean, putting what's called somebody's nutsack in your gob is one thing anyway, but the overwhelming sensation to bite then as well. She get flashbacks to, Christmas Day when she was having, what's called one sausage and 2 pickled onions, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, and RPR saying that this sounds like a troll story. I'm going to tell you, this is in the Daily Mail. Very rarely do they actually put, this is not this isn't the Onion. This happened. I mean, this is reports where they actually, the paramedics said that they went there. This is the greatest quote maybe that I've ever heard in my life, where it says, when paramedics arrived at the couple's home, they apparently saw the 51-year-old man, surnamed Wang, wearing a robe and holding a severed testicle in a rice bowl. Well, I can't do it. I can't read it. While the wife repeatedly explained, "I accidentally."
Is Wang by any chance his first or last name?
It's his surname. It's his last name.
I was going to say, if it was his first name, his last name would probably be Kerr, wouldn't it?
It could be, but his first name could be Ao Mai. That is a common name over there. It could be Ao Mai Wang.
Do you know, I am starting to come round to RPR theory here. I'm calling bullshit on this.
Oh,
I wouldn't call it bullshit, because we can do quite a lot when we're in pain and things like that.
No, look, here's a shot of them taking him off on a gurney right here.
It's not that. Do you remember the story of obviously Shamshank Redemption, when obviously he was being raped quite a lot, and then when that bloke said to him, "If you don't take my penis in your mouth, then I'm going to kill you." And then the bloke said to him, "Well, when we die, we produce something, blah blah blah, and we can actually take it off." Yeah, we can actually bite the whole penis off. So if you can do that with pure muscle, surely you can do that with skin.
It's that whole sort of,
oh Lord, this is Lou Lahan, a doctor, said the patient's testicle was not reattached for fear of an infection. This doctor, this is not a BS story, boys, I'm telling you. Reports claim his wife had bit off his right testicle during an aggressive lovemaking session. There you go. And look, I could be
unique
wrong because this
lovemaking.
keeps saying an image circulating. If it comes out, I'll guarantee you one thing. I'll keep my eye on this. And if it comes out to be that this is, for lack of a better word, bollocks, I'll be the first one to post it in a story and say, no, this is just, it came out that it was fake. But it's from a, like it or not, a reputable news source, Daily Mail. They don't make stuff up completely.
No, I was going to say, not completely.
Not completely, no. But yeah, it's a little bit suspicious. That I mean, the very fact his name was Wang as well is a little bit. You know, it's probably his wife's probably called Dong as well, or Flap or something. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, yeah. So since that could be just a crock of crap, I don't think I really picked. This is the last stream of the year, of the calendar year. Official for sure, probably for real, for actual. So I don't really think I, excuse me, picked one serious. The next one's as close to serious as it gets. It really is.
I don't know. The sex robots one was pretty serious.
Who'd ever thought we could actually turn something like that into a serious subject?
Well, the funniest thing is there was no story about sex robots. It just kind of went that way. It's just I'm fully blaming you boys. I did pick these stories.
Hey,
I picked it.
You know what? We are going to be considered head of our time in another 10 years when people look back at these streams, because nobody else is really talking about this. And then suddenly when they are starting to get more advanced, they'll be saying, well, fuck me. Look at all these boys talking about it years ago. Shame they all got killed by the robots.
Well, yeah, really.
It's a shame that Common Sense guy had got killed by two robots when he was trying to make sure that they had human rights.
Yeah, make sure they were. So I was thinking of missing members and bollockses and whatnot. And in this story, I noticed this story right here. A one-legged American ISIS jihadist jabs fake media.
That's funny enough.
And Dog of Rome Trump. So I guess this is the individual here. But an American accented ISIS fighter who apparently lost a left leg fighting with the terror group was featured in a new Islamic State video calling on Western supporters, including the disabled, to conduct knife or gun attacks. The bearded jihadist is referred to by nom de guerre as Abu that person, or the American, and is shown using crutches and attaching a prosthetic leg. And inside the Khalifa video released by ISIS official Al-Hat Media Center in English and Arabic. Sorry about all the different words. I don't read sand people. I don't know their language. Abu Sus, all this stuff. I mean, it's really Greek to me. It's almost worse. Also calls for would-be terrorists to take advantage of gun availability in the U.S. This is, I mean, when you read this, even from PJ Media, you know, that's some lefty stuff to put in there. But he begins by telling wounded jihadists with one leg or no legs that they have no excuse to not strike the kafir or disbelievers. To the brothers with limbs and no limbs, I challenge you to race toward the gates of Jahan, whatever, paradise. He said, Abdul Sal, whatever, believes ISIS flag will be raised above the White House, a common threat from the terror group. Yes, America, you'll be overcome from where you least expect it, he adds. His message to President Trump: you entered into the White House on the back of your crusader rhetoric, which the fake media has pressured you to tone down. Your fangs, your fangs and hatred toward Islam have already been revealed, O Dog of Rome. Your war against Islam has only made your homeland more vulnerable and your society cracking into chaos. The message then turns toward jihads, blah, 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 blah. That's about it anyway. So there you go. Rise up, ye, I mean, you know, you've seen the quote. I want to rise up, ye disabled, one-legged or no-leggeds. You got no reason now to live. So
does having one testicle, what's called, count you as being disabled?
Yeah, it does. Believe it or not, it actually does.
Well, I don't think they're very Muslim there in Taiwan. Sorry, Magic. Or sorry, Common Sense.
No, I was going to say that I find this story very, very intriguing for one particular reason. I mean, there is many, but one particular reason I want to project. This is obviously a gentleman that's obviously living in America. Now, all the leftists at this moment in time, why aren't they picking up on this story? Why aren't they picking up on this fact that an American citizen is trying to invoke people and entice people by becoming jihadist? Why aren't they trying to say to this person, this isn't a way that you become more inclusive. This isn't a way of multiculturalism. This isn't a way of my leftist rhetoric. Please insert this point in here. Why aren't they actually trying to actually produce that rather than us?
Hey, tone down the homophobia a little bit, common sense guy, please.
Hey, I haven't even told you to suck my punani yet.
No, I'm sorry, carry on. I'm just joking.
But if you've got all of these people that are now actually doing this, why isn't nobody on the left actually pointing it out? We can debunk this quite easily by saying he shouldn't be doing this. He shouldn't even be having a point. The fact that this is probably an actual stage story to be able to say stuff about make sure that people like this can't get guns. But they're not actually going to talk about the actual point that this is an American citizen that is trying to call for people in America to form a jihad against governments. If it was Obama in charge, would they say the same thing? Would they still be silent? Or would they be trying to defend him?
That's hard to say, but I would also add to that question, as Bollocks may answer it. I can't really. I would say, and also, what if it was a pale-skinned, freckle-faced, red-haired, carroty-topped crazy calling for all gingers to gather under a banner and to call the darkies of all races, anybody without red hair, off the face of the earth? Well, of course, man, it'd be terrible, especially if he's a Christian or something like that, Catholic.
No, I think you just said that right there, Mr. Ogre. The reason why the left will never say anything about it is simple, is because the color of his skin. That's it. As far as they're concerned, is that darky can never do anything wrong. You can, have one raping the shit out of, a white girl, group of them, and you get one of these far lefties coming along saying, "Oh, well, it's the white man that drove him to doing that, isn't it?" It's not.
Do you know, it's so funny that you said that. If you go on my video that I recently did, which is Rape Gangs Just Needed Friends, you have just explained exactly what leftist Pakistani people actually said. They say at the beginning of their investigation that they wanted to disprove that there was Asian people in there. What they ended up doing is 87% of the people that were convicted of all of the rapes involved were of Asian descent. Mm-hmm. But what you just said is absolutely correct, that they actually went out of their way to actually stop this from actually happening, to try and disprove it. And that was under a government body think tank as well.
Man, are you sure that was Rape Gangs Just Needed Friends? I remember the premise. I'm looking for it right now so I can tweet it, send it out to everybody.
Yeah, that was it. That was the video.
I'm looking for
Friends.
About how long ago?
About a week ago, about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I just can't understand how their brains just cannot accept that just because somebody's got more melanin in their skin,
I got it. Yes.
That they cannot be guilty of everything. They can't be guilty of the most heinous crimes possible, and blame it on somebody else with a slightly different tone of skin color because they somehow have convinced themselves that we are the root of all evil, even though we've created the best and fairest societies that this planet's ever known.
Man, I get sick of hearing that. There's a guy named Colin Flattery that, he wrote a couple books, White Girl Bleed a Lot and Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. He does a YouTube channel, puts out 2 videos a day about the startling black on white, black on Asian, black on gay, black on straight, black on black crime in the United States, wildly out of proportion. Black mob violence running rampant. These things are just true. If you go to that channel or just type in "Don't Make the Black Kids Angry" on YouTube, you'll find it. And then check that out. You can't. Something's going on, and it's not. I will say this: I'm not a lefty. It's not per se the black people. Same thing happened with Jews in the ghettos in Prussia. When you give people enough to live, but then tell them that you're theirs because you've taken care of them and keep them in a certain place and tell them they're victims, when there's another group of people that even, I don't matter if they look down on them even a little bit, bam, you will get, and tell them they're entitled. You're entitled. Hey, Whitey deserves to get beat up if he's in this neighborhood. You needed that money from that old lady. She deserved to be raped. I mean, all these things. Look, I'm going off the deep end on that one.
Well, not really. It's still under the same premise of what's going on here. I mean, I've took it into the premise of, obviously, why hasn't the left actually tried to, let's say, encourage multiculturalism at this point, try to force integration on this gentleman? Why haven't they come out to try and say, well, it's just because of this and it's just because of that, let's have a chat about him? I'll tell you why. It's because they know that they will get shot at. They will get blown up. So it's as simple as that. They know that that would happen to them. Because, let's be honest, most of them would approach it as a fact of, oh, you're doing it wrong. It's not all Muslims and blah, blah, blah. So that's the point where everybody would be going across and actually trying to do something, and nobody would, because they know that they would get shot at. That's exactly what it is.
And all the people who mostly are defending them are the ones who happen to not actually live anywhere near them, isn't it? The sort of middle to upper middle class types who live on the outskirts of all the big cities. Or
the ivory towers that are high upper class. There's some, you know, yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest hypocrites are the ones, of course, who live in places like London or Birmingham or Manchester, wherever. And they'll be, you know, constantly virtue signaling about how much they love how diverse the area they live in and how wonderful it is, this multicultural society we've created. And yet, once their kids get to be about 4 or 5, they move out. And end up.
Not only that, their flat is £8 million, isn't it? You know, around the corner, and you know, from the bad or in the bad, but you've got to have a key to get past the gate to get, you know, through the watchmen and the cameras. And it's not that they're in the ghetto.
No, but it's the whole hypocrisy of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
And you just wonder, don't you? I would personally love to borrow one of Pinochet's helicopters, pick a J.K. Rowling up and drop her in the middle of Rotherham and say to them, boys, help yourself. I can't wait to see what her Twitter feed's going to be like in another 12 hours.
Well, I'd actually go one further. I'd actually like her and people like Lily Allen to actually put their money where their mouth is, to actually open up their multi-million-pound flats and houses and mansions.
They got the room.
Yeah, exactly. To actually put them in there. You know why? Because they know that it wouldn't work. They know that multiculturalism doesn't work, because otherwise they would be doing what they say rather than preaching it to others to do. They would actually be physically doing it. I mean, Ogre will be able to explain this a lot better than I would. A preacher doesn't just preach. A preacher has to show what he's doing by preaching and for his preaching. He has to be shown actually doing stuff.
Well, I think what you mean is one never preaches a sermon. If one chooses to preach a sermon about something they do, one makes it very clear. And I've done that many times. But I've said, not just at the beginning or a small thing preamble at the beginning or a closer at the end, but I will make it very clear throughout the presentation that I'm the one I'm preaching to more than anyone here. You actually see an example of that where Father Mapple gives the sermon in Moby Dick. You know.
Well, actually, common sense, just to cheer you up a little bit, there was a story, and again, it was in the Mail, so I take it with a pinch of salt, that one of Lily Allen's flats in London actually had foreign squatters in it, and she was desperately trying to get them evicted because she wanted to be there for Christmas.
Oh,
I know. Funnily enough, there wasn't a lot of sympathy for her in the actual in the comments. On the same reason, of course, she loves foreigners so much. I mean, she apologized for a whole nation to, you know, one who was allegedly underage. Yeah. But of course, when it affects her, oh no, not, you know, get out of my house. You're not stopping me out enjoying my Christmas.
No, that's exactly the same thing. Not to diverge the conversation too much, but that's exactly what I say about communists. Like when Grenfell Tower went up, unfortunately, you had good old Jeremy Corbyn coming up saying we need to appropriate the houses of the rich so we can accommodate the people that have gone through this terrible tragedy. Yes, it's a terrible tragedy. Don't nick other people's houses. If you want to nick other people's houses, offer your house up first.
To be fair, would you want to live in Corbyn's house? It looks like fucking shit tip to me.
To be fair, my friend, if that's all I had left and he was offering rather than him trying to appropriate something, yes, I would.
Yeah, but you still have to listen to his bullshit in the evenings, wouldn't it? About how he's been out fighting for his fellow comrades all day long. In other words, he's... No, carry on.
No, I'll cut you off. Correct.
No, it's all right. What's good? You know, this is just a little bit of Monday coming back to haunt me again. Less said about my what's called socialist arguments, the better.
No, I enjoy hearing them because I'm telling you, all I can think about is I don't care what his flat looks like. Jeremy Corbyn, man, look. There are people sleeping rough right now, and they're English. For the most part, they're Englishmen, and they're just sleeping rough tonight when it's cold up there. I guarantee you. I don't care if it's not as cold as it is here. By the way, it's been negative 20 Celsius for quite a while now. Average.
Yeah, it's not that cold here.
No, it's gotten colder than that at night. But you know, people are sleeping rough. So before we even worry about any of this stuff, J.K. Rowling running her big fat mouth, or any of these people, well, why don't? But I'm talking about the Muslim or the immigrant coming from. Where are they coming from now, man? South Sudan? I don't know. Somewhere ever, Syria, somewhere. It's always somewhere.
North and
Aleppo,
Central Africa, North and Central Africa is where most of them are coming from now.
Yes, I kind of know why I can't get the S name that I want to spit out of my mouth, but because it doesn't. Somalia, thank you, sir. Because it doesn't matter. Am I saying those humans don't matter? No. I ascribe those people the same things that I said that all human beings get, but that's where they're at. Not, you know, and people say, well, I bombed them and what? Look, man, I don't even know what to say there.
Well, it's funny that you brought that up. No, it's really funny that you brought, I say really funny. It's a really good point that you brought that up. I'm sure that you wouldn't have been able to have watched this, but I'm sure Magic Bollocks has done. You had Vince Cable and Jeremy Corbyn, that's the leader of the Liberal Democrats and the leader of Labour, both saying that you should look after people that are homeless today, but yet neither of them and neither of their party members have offered anything in the help of anybody to do with old veterans or anything, or anybody that's homeless have done fuck all for it. But yet that's their Christmas message to everyone. Open up your house to everybody that is homeless and things like that, but they haven't done nothing for it for anybody else.
Combined age of about 253 as well, isn't it?
I think it's 160.
Fucking hell, I suppose. I mean, no wonder what's called we've got, you know, politicians like we have, you know, these old, you know, not to disrespect too many boomers, but that sort of ideology where you think we can all live in peace and harmony and all that crap. And I mean, no, I'm sorry. What's good? You're the ones with the money. You're the ones with the big houses. You're the one with the resources. You house these fucking people.
Yeah, exactly. I love that when you get these students that come across and go, oh yeah, we don't want any career politicians. Now I'm going on a bashing of Corbyn at the minute, but Corbyn's been a politician since the age of 30. That's 40 years, give or take.
And he didn't really have a proper job before that, did he?
No, he was a council clerk. I then become a councillor.
So he's never ever worked in the private sector?
No, as far as I'm aware, he hasn't, no.
Yep. Says everything you need to know, really.
Exactly. Anyway, Ogre, direct us on to another point, otherwise we're going to carry on a silly tangent.
No, bashing Corbyn's good fun, actually.
Well, it is good fun.
It's fun. When it comes to an end, it comes to an end. I just think there was a lot to glean from that. I do have the next story popped up. Actually, while I was listening to y'all, I wrote down a couple things because I only had you in mind when I popped this up. Even though I'm sure you'll pipe in, Bollocks, but you were the one I was thinking about. Common sense, and you actually made some points tonight that tie in. So Dr. Phil, is minorly in the news in this minor way, but Dr. Phil says he rescues people from addiction. Others say his show puts guests' health at risk. And then you can see this. I mean, there's so many shots of this. Dr. Phil's concerned yet stern face, and someone else helping this poor addict that is heroined out and just needs his opiate or methadone or crack or whatever it may be, alcohol, who knows. So Los Angeles, he had one survivor of the reality TV test of grit and strength, but Todd Herzog was so drunk when he appeared on the Dr. Phil show, and this is this gentleman here, Dr. Phil's show in 2013 that he had to be carried out onto the seat and lifted into a chair, off the set, excuse me, and lifted into a chair. I've never talked to a guest who was closer to death, show host Philip McGraw declared on camera. TV viewers, however, didn't see the setup for this shocking scene. Herzog, who was battling alcoholism, told Stat and the Boston Globe that he was not intoxicated when he arrived at the Los Angeles studio. In his dressing room, he said he found a bottle of Smirnoff vodka. He drank all of it. Then someone handed him a Xanax. I'm reading this all because I'm going to cut you boys loose on this, but we got to listen carefully. Someone handed him a Xanax, he said, telling him it would calm his nerves. And he's acting like he didn't know what the hell it would do. I shouldn't do that. I'm trying to editorialize. America's best known television doctor presented himself as a crusader for recovery who rescues people from their addiction and even death. But in its pursuit of ratings, the Dr. Phil show has put at risk the health of some of those guests it purported to help, according to people who have been on the show and addiction experts. Guests have been left without medical help as they face withdrawal from drugs, a Stat Boston Globe investigation has found. And one person said she was directed by a show staff member to an open-air drug market to find heroin for her detoxing her withdrawal symptoms. While McGraw has been buffeted by controversy and lawsuits since he broke out as a celebrity on the Oprah Winfrey Show 2 decades ago, the show's handling of guests seeking treatment for substance abuse disorders has largely escaped scrutiny. McGraw declined an interview request, though a Dr. Phil show representative, Martin Greenberg, a psychologist who serves as the show's director of professional affairs, says guests have never been provided alcohol or directed where to buy drugs. In a statement, he denied Herzog was left alone with a bottle of vodka in his dressing room or given Xanax. We do not do that with this guest or any other, he wrote. He called the allegations absolutely, unequivocally untrue. And this goes on for some time, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. I just wanted to give you a really good sense, and if y'all want more, I can read more later. I do believe y'all are obviously not foolish, and you can see what's going on here. Let's just say that the sensational headline that brung me here, Dr. Phil gives drugs and alcohol. I guess to prime the pump, would it be unethical if Dr. Phil himself said here, actually, right here, and he gave him a sedative because he was amped up and fighting alcohol? Would that be unethical? Would that be a bad thing?
Yeah, it would be. It's the same reason why Jerry Springer was obviously generally cut off, because it was, especially in the UK, because he was found to supply his guests with either drugs or alcohol. And that was the reason for them fighting so much, because they were taught that if they hear the bell that they had to fight.
Now, I wouldn't say alcohol. I never mentioned alcohol. I don't think Dr. Phil would. But Dr. Drew, I know he is Celebrity Rehab. He would prescribe. I mean, when the people get to Celebrity Rehab and you hear him talking about, I was doing meth. And
can I just quickly address Mad Dodge, because I think it's getting lost in translation in the writing. I'm saying, Mad Dodge, that though he has a federal license, the reason why he films in California is because what you are saying is he cannot practice in California. Because if he was practicing while he was doing this, he would lose his license anyway, because you're not allowed to divulge your patient's points. That's the reason why he films it in California, so he can't lose his license. Sorry, carry on, Ogre.
Oh no, that's I was just about like drawing it to an end, because people like Dr. Drew, Dr. Phil, when you have, look, there's a thing in a hospital called the Cyrax protocol. If you get someone that comes in that drinks, a fifth, maybe a half a gallon, I'd say, or more a day, and they've been doing it for 20 years, man, if you don't give them Cyrax or a benzodiazepam, don't matter what it is, Valium, Xanax, Klonopin, Cerax, any drug like that. And no, I'm not a druggie. I've been in the field. I mean, I know the drugs and what they do, these kind of uppers and downers and whatnot, and things that people are prescribed for psychological disorders. You'll kill them. There's only 2 drugs that I know of. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure that I'm not, unless some medical journal has been put out in the last hour or so. There's only 2 drugs that can kill you in the withdrawal. It's not heroin. It's not methamphetamine. Those, however, will make you feel like cigarettes, coffee. Those may make you feel like you want to die, but they can't kill you. Now, alcohol can kill you. You can die from diphtheria, tremors, and benzos, i.e., the drugs I just named, Klonopin, these things. They'll kill you, the withdrawals. That's why they use Cerax in these. So, you know, I want to stand up for this. There's an ethical way to do it, and I'll kind of leave this to you know, till last little thing I have to say on the deal, because there's an ethical arm to it. There's an ethical component in this. You know, I don't know what happened. Dr. Phil, I don't love the guy. I'm not into broadcasting this stuff. I've watched what is this, addiction, intervention. I've watched these things. I watch these things, but I don't think it's good. I watch it like I would watch a train wreck, or when the space shuttle went up and it exploded, and you watch it again and you're like, and you know what's going to happen, or the towers coming down, or the tube bombing, and you watch these things. It's kind of the same thing to me, and just as drastic. We should really, it's not made to be a circus of these things, of people's. So if anything with Dr. Phil and Dr. Drew and that lot, that's the issue I have with them. Not in using pharmakia to accomplish a medical end. Never would I have it. Boy, that was a long way. Come on, man, say something. No, I'm going to keep busting magic bollocks until he's pissed.
No, I think you actually make a really good point. It's the same reason why we have. I don't know if you ever heard of a gentleman called Jeremy Kyle. Have you ever heard of that person over in America?
No, I haven't. I'm not aware of that. And it's not ringing a bell.
He's very, very much like a Jerry Springer type. He deals with that type of situation. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe. So it's only conjecture, that most people would watch TV programs like that to have a look at the people to see how bad they're doing, and then realize that their lives are not that bad. Now, is that entertainment? I suppose it broadly comes underneath that. It's a TV show and you're watching it, so I suppose it does. Is it ethical, as in what you would say about the rich people bringing the peasantry in to be able to decide what's going to happen and trying to get a reaction out of the peasantry? Or watching people being hung, drawn, and quartered and things like that. Is that a similar position that's going on at this moment in time? I don't know. The connotations could be similar, I suppose. And I think that's where you're going down the road, to trying to actually say that, is this an ethical thing that we watch people that are almost at the end of their lives, at the end of their wits' end, so to speak? Are we supposed to watch these people and think, yeah, I'm so glad that's not me, and then forget about them? Because,
well, of course, that's the point, because they want to point to this drug thing that they think is an issue when everyone's watching this, and maybe that should be the issue. Is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. No, I agree. Magic Bollocks, what do you think, sir?
I think.
Don't get proud. Absolutely.
I really do think it's all a load of bollocks, to be honest. I've never really watched these programs that much. I used to watch Jerry Springer a bit, but that was literally just because I like watching the fight. But in terms of these weird programs, they're basically modern day freak shows, aren't they? To an extent. I mean, funny you mentioned Jeremy Kyle. I mean, you know your life has hit rock bottom if you actually end up going on that program.
Exactly.
And why? You get all these weird freak families where you think what's called your second child was what's called maybe conceived with your fucking what's called half brother's sister's mother's brother or something, and it must be popular because it's still going and it's been on for years now. But honestly, it's that sort of side of society that I try to sort of not get involved with, because it's like, if the sad fucks who go on that, like them horrible revolting women, I speak as I fucking well think, them sort of type ones. They want to be that like that, that's fine, but I don't really want to watch it. I don't want to get involved in it. So, let their genetic abnormalities take care of them. That's what I say.
Fair play.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the reason that I brung all this up is I wrote it down here so I didn't forget that it's important. A psychologist is more than a psychiatrist. Well, and a lot of people argue with me because they're just now having it so where you just take a couple extra classes and a psychologist who can prescribe drugs. And before it was a psychiatrist, the biggest difference was they prescribed drugs and they had a lot more pre-med, and a psychologist didn't have pre-med and didn't prescribe drugs. But we got to remember when we deal with people, no matter how we deal with people, I believe this, that we should keep our heart on our sleeve, but have a coat of armor to cover that, and to be transparent enough to be able to help and to let people have a little bit of an inside window into the way you work, but not give them a schematic of the inner workings. And that's important. It's so easy to be clinical about things, matters that involve human beings. And when a lot of the times it's more than that. It has to be more than that. And that's it. I mean, Dr. Phil, I don't think that he believes it's unethical and he just wants a paycheck. I really don't. I mean, I've seen the guy enough. I'm not an addict of Dr. Phil. I may have seen his show 5 or 6 times. I watched this whole show that this was on because I watched Survivor. I thought it was, well, no truth, I thought it was kind of funny how sometimes fame can ruin people, just ruin them, man. Did this kid.
Well, fame does ruin everybody. It does change everybody as well. Even with people that say, oh, I've never been changed by fame. It's like, well, when you were working at your, like Brad Pitt, when he was doing his diner work and things like that, he always used to say that he used to give money and things like that to different people around. And he wasn't ever too bothered about it. He doesn't do that too much now, does he? He always keeps himself to himself and everything else like that. I'm not trying to say that he should do. But the only point I'm trying to say is that fame changes everybody. Everybody that gets a little bit of famous or a little bit of fame, it changes them. It makes them rethink it, reevaluate. It gives them a grandiose sense of self-importance. And as soon as you have that sort of a feeling inside you, you do actually change. It's just, I think it's a way of human nature. As soon as people start giving you more attention than what you were used to, you naturally feel that you are more important than what you already are. It's important to realize that your legs have to stay firmly on the ground because you have to remember where you come from. And the more and more money that you get, the more and more fame that you get, you lose your sense of purpose, your sense of self. No, it hasn't changed me, actually. I'm pretty much exactly the same as I am, and I can't really say that I'm famous. And I don't think I ever will be. But it's quite an interesting question. I've got more confident in the way that I talk. I'm a hell of a lot more confident in the videos that I produce. But my opinions haven't changed. The sense of purpose hasn't changed. My sense of people hasn't changed because I've set myself to the point of having my own principles. And as I've quite rightly said many times before, if my family needs me, mean it in a nice way to all the lads here, but fuck your show, my family needs me, I'm off, which I've done before, and I will do again if ever is needed. So can't really say that fame's changed me at all, if I can say I'm famous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think just because 058 was mentioning this also, I would say one of the biggest difference historically between psychiatrists and psychologists would be more so psychologists came up with the idea that there's a brain and a mind. Remember that the mind is something separate. It's the self, the idea of self. And then self-improvement came with this. And yes, you talk about behavioralism, and we have B.F. Skinner, and we have Bandera, and we have all these wonderful forefathers. And I was just mentioning some of the later pioneers to modern psychology. But to make a long story short, one of my favorite topics, a psychiatrist would believe that something would be broken that could be fixed, maybe a switch be made to work through chemistry. I believe that's what you were saying, and that's very true. That possibly there'd be a pill in some cases, exercises, whatever they may be, some kind of drill or role playing, some exercise. The psychologist would always go to, well, maybe there's not necessarily something broken. Maybe there is a behavior that hasn't been taught or learned yet. Maybe there's a coping mechanism that hasn't been developed yet. Maybe there's a social tool that hasn't been, learned or passed down to them, whatever it may be. And that's very important too, because, yeah, of course. And myself, I was saying it all, and I'm continuing to say, there's a time where you say, okay, now here's this, because you're doing these other things. But that was always historically the biggest difference. A psychologist would want to sit and talk to you, see what we can get, work out, see if we can deal with it. And we would want to deal with it that way, help you work out your own problems. That's why Scientology is a lot like it. Hubbard hated psychiatry and psychology. And I mean, he did, and he tried to copy it and then say, oh, no, I invented this. No, a lot of this stuff, he just added a lie detector and long interrogation sessions. While when you're being interrogated, you're holding these cans and they can tell if you're lying. And so, come on, man, that's crazy, right? You go to church and you sit down and somebody asks you weird questions for like 4 hours till they get either the answers they want or they feel like they made you confess enough, and that's church. What? And you pay them. You pay. It's not even like an offering. You got to pay. I don't know why you cleared your throat. I guess I'm not sure. I haven't gone through my complete updated contract. I got it down here. I just haven't gone through it.
It was just going on a longer tangent. That's all.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm blowing hard. And we are going up on hard on 2 hours. And I'm willing to start like the final words around the 2 hour mark. Lads, it's always good to talk for a long, long time. And we did open up with some marathon 3 hours and more magic bollocks. But I noticed, if you've seen in Discord, I was talking to you. I was like, they're gonna pass you around like the prom queen on a drunken, Saturday night. And boom, it was like 5 minutes later, Mrs. Ogre was walking. I was like, look, man, Fox on his red eye stream. I told him they're gonna be getting ropey mid. They're gonna ropey mid. And they got him. I mean, the Mad Dodge is out there too. I don't give a shit. But they got him. And he was just there was a certain person that, hopefully, I don't really want to broadcast and mention, but there was a certain person that was, shall we say, taking a piss last night. And out of everything and everyone for no reason, and being like the headmaster, just angry headmaster. I'm not finished. Sit down, sir. And it's like, wow. Anyway, so I'm just glad you're here, Magic Bollocks, that you actually made it tonight. I was thinking, man, I'm gonna get a text from him tomorrow. And he's gonna be like, dude, I had enough live streaming yesterday.
Yeah, it's the interest suddenly is very nice. I would have been on Buttercup stream last Saturday night as well, but for some reason it wouldn't let me in to play. And so I'm going to try again tomorrow and try if I can completely derail her what's called live stream as well. Because I think last Friday I think I did my absolute best I could to keep that one going, because you said about not go over the 3 hours, and I thought, nah, I'm not having that. I'm going to keep going until you finally pull the plug. Yeah.
I think we went 3.5. We went a long time.
Yeah, it was just short of 4 hours in the end.
Yeah, we went. It was a marathon daggone stream.
Yeah,
I was done. But you'll have them. We've done longer ones than that. Our longest running guest was Sargon of Akkad, over 5 hours, if I remember right. At the end, a couple other people showed. It was something else. And I don't mind them, but there's I always say it, so I don't want to say it again, other than to say that sitting here talking and trying to pay attention and not just it takes a little something. Not a ton. It's not like hauling bricks or block or pouring concrete. You know what I mean? It's not like that. But it does take a certain mental thing that after a few hours, for me, I've found it's like, wow, I'm doing something. I'm ready to be done. That didn't quite get there, but 4 hours is that's about where I'm going. Time to leave.
Mine's about 3.
Yeah. To be fair, what's good, I did have a good reason to keep going, because Mrs. Ogre was flirting with me outrageously, wasn't she?
I keep telling yourself that. Many men have, and I don't blame you. I feel lucky. I still do. After quite a long time, it's just some people roll the dice, and I've always been happy though. Whatever my hand that I was dealt, and that in that particular case, I got dealt a good hand. In other cases, not so much, but we try. We play the hand we're dealt. That's it. Yeah, boys, but this isn't one of those days. I mean, this is like 2 hours is hitting in 4 minutes. 3 minutes now. And I was gonna stay going before I even mention anything like this until 20 after, because it struck me that if we do 2 hours, there's 2 times passes that it's 4:20 somewhere, right?
Exactly.
Right, 24 times a day. It's 4:20 somewhere on Earth. I was gonna fire the bong up, but that will probably be a new thing here for the ogre to remember to keep his mind functioning right. We have natural cannabinoid receptors in our brain that are very important. And a lot of times, none of them will ever be fired. In some cases, it manifests itself with like people like hiccup. No kidding. Check it out. Constantly hiccup, can't stop. They can either give them so many drugs that they're honest to God zombie, and in most cases, you still see a hiccup once in a while. But they're out. They're done. And that's the only way they can get relief because it's painful. Imagine hiccuping nonstop for 2 years. But apparently, everyone so far that's actually tried the treatment, if they smoke pot, you can see it happen. It's unreal. And obviously, first time I've mentioned it, so I'm not some crusader that's like, any problem you have in the world, call 1-800-CANNABIS. It will cure cancer. It will make your life better. It will make your penis longer. Your wife will love you more. You'll get that A in anatomy and physiology. I'm not saying that. But in this case, and a couple others, it's the best treatment. So boom, 420 probably be a little celebration for me because it keeps my brain firing and makes me feel good. I love it. It's like that snifter of brandy that some people enjoy. It's just my snifter.
It's that Jack Daniels and Coke that keeps you going through a stream.
Nothing wrong with that. Common sense. What was that? Remember #Doobiegate? I don't know if those things last forever. It would still be there.
It should be, mate. It should be. I can't believe I set that up.
#Doobiegate. I think it was Razor Fist is what's coming to mind. I don't fully remember. I just fired up a doobie the size of my pinky.
Oh, no. I set up the hashtag. I actually set that up on Twitter. I actually set everything up so it would actually become a hashtag, like, all blue and everything.
Oh, you had done before that?
No. I did it during that stream.
Oh, right.
Razor Fist was the one that said, oh, yeah, that's a doobie gate, as in you just blowing one up. But then I set up the actual Twitter hashtag for it.
Yes, that was good times on the Bunny Ranch.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna get righteously stoned right now. I'm gonna forego the waiting for 420. Forego the 420.
I have one question for everybody, including in the chat. Is there one more thing that anybody wants us to talk about that's not drama related?
And if not, you got first dibs, but I'd like Magic Bollocks to pick something he's burning to talk about. Either one of you boys.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
We'll give them a second. I got time, boys. We definitely won't go over 3 hours, though. That's the fact.
Yeah,
I got shit to do.
Right. Let me just have a look to see if I can find something really bad that we can talk about. And see if anybody in the chat can actually beat me to it. There's bound to be something.
And I got to consider, I want to ask the chat, too. This is something else to think about while everyone's thinking about the story and Magic Bollocks is doing his thing. It would be more convenient for Magic Bollocks' life.
Can I just take one up from the chat?
Yeah.
We will talk about why Lenin was a genius. He wasn't. End the conversation.
Okay. That's fine. That was asked and answered. I don't have anything else on that.
Are you the author of that book on Amazon then, Common Sense? The one that says why socialism works, and every page just says it doesn't.
Doesn't.
No, that was co-authored by me and Count Dankula.
I thought he did the why communism doesn't work.
No, we did both. We did a little mini series, and he was the main head author. I was just one of the footnotes.
But did you do a pulsating groin move though when you were advertising it?
Oh. I might have done one or two.
I bloody hope not.
I think that would definitely put a few extra subscribers to your channel, wouldn't it?
You
Probably would, but it's not happening.
you remind me. I think this is a high praise too, if you're wondering. But you're almost the English Jackie Gleason. You're a little tall for Jackie.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, because you are a big guy, but you just wear it well. I don't know how else to say it. There's fat people, and then there's fat people that just don't really look fat, and you're one of those. And because you tell me, I mean, whatever. I don't know what else. I see you share a lot of things. I'm not sure if I heard you share something. So, whatever.
No,
it goes. You look to me like someone that's about on the area that I am right now at this moment, which could lose 20, 30 pounds, but more than 30 would be bad. Less than 15. Like if I don't lose 15, that's bad too, real bad. I need to lose weight.
Well, I'm at 22 stone, so take that as what.
Yeah, I know you said that before, and I worked it out. Damn it, though, you don't look that big. But I'm not sitting next to you. You know what I mean? I don't have someone else sitting next to you either to get the perspective. You dig it? When I see it's just you and the wall. I try to judge by the settee. I can tell you got a big head. You got a giant head. Yes, I do. Yes. Like I think of like David and Goliath. I think of like Goliath's head must have looked like that. Well, it just so happens you're a Philistine.
Conversation. Yeah, these are some of the most interesting backhanded compliments I've ever heard in my life. You know.
Yeah. I'm not sure they're compliments.
I think the intention was good. It's just that the execution was a bit shite.
Oh God. I'm hardest on myself.
I'm 6'3", monkey. I'm 6'3".
Yeah, he's a big guy. You can go to his channel and you can see now he's sitting down, but you can see he doesn't hide his face. He's got at least 4 or 5 videos of him there. Big giant hands, bigger than mine, which you can see by the lighter. Anyway, yeah, this is weird and it just degraded to.
John Adam Weishaupt has made an excellent point that I think we could all talk about. He talk about the future of the West in the world with the aging and declining populations.
Ooh.
I think that's quite an interesting topic that we could lament on for a while.
I'll start really quickly with
sure.
two words and leave you boys at it. White genocide.
Oh, Jesus. I knew you were going to do that.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Are you going to start playing the victim now?
Those are my 2 words. I'll leave it at that. White genocide.
Yep, that's fine. There is no such thing as a white genocide. White genocide is not happening. It's the sex robots. Get over
it. white flight from white genocide. Well, there is only one race where they say, "Oh, it's not diverse enough." Man, why they don't never hear that in Beijing? You don't hear that in Kenya. You don't hear that in Taiwan. You don't hear that in Tripoli. You don't hear that anywhere except for Western, mostly white countries. There he is. Oh, diversity. And what they mean is you're too white. That is exactly what it means. I think we could all agree on that much, whether or not it's white genocide.
I would kind of disagree with you on that aspect. I don't think it's a case that you're too. Well, it depends. If you're talking about feminism as the ideology of that point, then yes, I'll agree with you. It's too. We're all too white. Even if you're bloody as black as night, you're still too white in some aspects. So I kind of agree with you on that point. But if you're just talking about the idea of multiculturalism as in itself, the idea is quite a decent idea. You just take people in as their culture and you just integrate them into yours and you just carry on. The only problem with multiculturalism is it's being pushed on too hard and too quick. We're forcing too many people in, especially on places like England, where net every year you get over 360-something thousand people coming in every year. So within 3 years, that's an extra million people with our obviously increasing population as well. Which
and that's how there's only 68 million or so. I think I can't remember exactly, but there's under 70, I'm sure, million. That's a lot.
There's 65.6 million last time I.
Yeah, so nearly 400,000. That's a lot. That's a crap.
Exactly. That's the size of Birmingham every year being integrated into the country, and they're not being integrated because they're not being actually put into any sort of different places. They're all being ghettoized. In other words, put into small little colonies. And I say colonies for a particular reason, because they're breaking off and making their own laws, especially places like Luton, Birmingham, and Bradford, where you have the idea of Sharia law being trying to be implemented and things like that, and Sharia courts being implemented, especially down in Luton. So with those type of ideas, multiculturalism isn't working. But the reason why it isn't working is because it's not being integrated. The idea of it is really good. It's just because it's happening so quick. The natural country that's in front, i.e. it would work in Germany as well. It would work anywhere. It would work in Sweden. It's just the fact that it's happening too quickly, and the culture that is coming in is taking over the culture that was already in the country. And it just can't work like that, because you're trying to take over the natural nature of that country. Because if you go into Sweden, me myself, I would have to learn how the Swedish customs are, how the Swedish laws are. But if you're trying to have a different culture and you're doing different ghettos and things like that, where you're putting people into specific places, it doesn't work, because they're going to form their own laws and their own lay of the land. Hence why there's so many no-go areas. I mean, you hear about it all the time. There's a Dutch politician that has stated before that there are no-go areas in the Netherlands, for instance. I mean, recently he's come out and said, no, I never said that, you're lying. But
there are, we know.
Whatever on that one.
But people have documented them. There are in Sweden too. Bad. They just had that guy. I mean, it was a big, the report came out. And I'm trying to open that up, Magic Bollocks. You may have to open it up and screen share if you are able to do that, because it's just saying redirecting, and it says farmers market, racist normalizing habits, white people.
Yeah, it's doing the same for me now, which is typical. It was quite an interesting little story. It plays very nicely into the Drexel professor, doesn't it? Puts out a message saying, basically kill all the whites, and then complains because he's getting some blowback from it. And I imagine these two professors would actually get the same thing as well. But one thing about these communists that confused me a little bit is that why are they so intent on wiping out the white race? Is it because we're considered the greatest threat to their ideology ever being realized in the West?
Boy, that is the question, isn't it?
No. There's an easy answer to that. There's a very, very easy answer. Communism uses the idea of classical Marxism, which is the point of trying to say to people, and it is a proper term, you can actually look it up, it's actually used, it's actually done by the Frankfurt School. I'm not trying to use the other form of Marxism. It's a case of where you put one person or one group of people as the oppressor, and you have other groups of people that are the oppressed. And everybody of any sort of race or creed can all go and say that white people are doing better, so they are the oppressor and we are the oppressed. And as soon as you have that ideology linked in, you can tell the oppressed whatever you want about the oppressor and they'll believe it. Have a read of Animal Farm. Explains it extremely well.
Right, which explains why they can never see black people as anything but innocent, because they're the oppressed as opposed to the oppressor.
Well, only for now, because they're using it for a tool. Before it was the bourgeoisie, it would be class. It doesn't matter. You could apply the same problem, reaction, solution, synthesis, thesis, synthesis, antithesis, synthesis. Excuse me, Hegelian principles or Hegelian dialectic, any way you want. And it comes out the same way, because people want to give credit to all, no, it really comes down to Hegel, and then it comes down to people that are willing to do whatever they want to get power and come to some end that they see as the best for whatever reason.
I mean, it's really interesting, because if you flip it on the opposite side, you have the hard right at this moment in time, using Muslims as the point of they are the oppressors and we are the oppressed, as in obviously terrorism and things like that, and people coming across and being the immigrants and the refugees and everything else like that.
And when you don't know if you're going to be blown up, stabbed, whatever, plane taken down, a building blown up that you're in, when you don't know these things, who is the oppressed and who is the oppressor? No,
I agree. I mean,
I know you agree. I'm sure you do. I'm just saying, that's the question, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're going to go down that road, then you have to go to the point of saying that you have over 1 billion people in the whole of the world that are under the Muslim territory or name of religion, but yet only, 1.9% of that whole 1 billion are actually anything to do with terrorism at all. And that doesn't include, obviously, extremists and things like that. It's a whole broad brush that have terrorist ideals. And that's something like 1.8, 1.9% of the whole Muslim population. Now, different if you ask people if they believe in gay marriage and things like that, different points. I'm talking about terrorism and dying for your God and things like that. If you put that in perspective, then you could quite easily say that this is a fear-mongering. But you could also quite say that people are actually using this as a scapegoat. It's the same thing, and that's the reason why I say it's under the term of classical Marxism. That you can, and what Ogre said, you can put anybody as the oppressed there. You can put anybody you want as the oppressor, and you can have any group that you want as the oppressed. And you can swing it around for any political argument or any political diagram that you want, quite rightly, is what Ogre said. And it's just funny that somebody from the right would use that point when they hate everything to do with the left. It's just funny to me.
That's for doggone sure.
Wow, I killed that then.
No, I'm sorry. Mrs. Ogre just came and asked me a question. I'm just gonna see what she wants. I'm right here.
No worries. Did you want to carry on with your point, Magic Bollocks, if you can remember, because I did kind of rudely cut you off?
Well, no, my point before was more of a sort of a question as to, you know, the actual reason. I mean, I do agree that, yeah, it's them using the old ideology of the oppressor and the oppressed as a way of, you know, turning one group against the other. But it's the thing is nobody apart from our actual establishment know what the actual end game is, and
don't believe that, my friend. Don't believe that the establishment actually knows what they're actually doing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be inviting more and more people in.
Right.
Well, the thing is with that, I mean, I've had to try to explain to people before what, you know, my theories behind it is. Well, it isn't just one single reason, is it? It's I mean, the main reason, of course, is because it's benefiting the elite. Every time more people get squashed into this tiny island, there's more competition for goods and services, which of course helps push GDP up, regardless of where the money they're spending is coming from. So of course it looks like the government's actually doing a good job. It makes businesses more profitable because they're making more money, and of course there's more competition for jobs, which drives labor costs down. Doesn't matter about social cohesion problems. Doesn't matter about the natives feeling like
there's a slight problem with that. If businesses are making more money, it means the middle class would end up spending more money, which means that the lower classes would have to be buying what the middle class are making. The economist works as a circle. I
think, Bosco, that I should probably phrase that better as the shareholders are doing better then.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, as opposed to the actual, you know, the idea of the trickle down economics of, you know, the top, if the board are doing well, that means eventually the workers on the shop floor are going to get, you know, nice pay rises. But it doesn't work that way. It's just basically another way of allowing those at the top to siphon more money upwards. And
well, it depends. If the shareholders are allowed to invest more money into the actual companies or into the actual real estate of the country as a whole, then it would actually work. Trickle-down economics in itself is the whole prospects of capitalism. That if money trickles up, then money then gets reinvested. That's the whole circle of capitalism in itself, that you have the worker that earns the money, you have the middle class that buys the product, you have the person who owns the product that earns money, and to increase the product has to put more money into the factories, meaning the workers then get more money, blah, blah, blah. That's how the circle works.
That's how it's supposed to work, yeah. But the problem is that we don't have in the West anymore what I would define as true capitalism. It's definitely now corporatism, or at most crony capitalism, which is...
But is that the fault of the governments, or is that the actual fault of the people that are earning the money?
I would say it's more the people with the money, because they're the ones who are actually paying the politicians to bring in legislation that benefits them.
But it's still government that's actually producing the legislation, though.
True, but would they
So
be doing it?
Yeah, but
What-
does that not mean the fault lies with them? You could say that I was pressuring you to go and kill somebody, but yet you would still be the murderer.
Well, how much are you willing to offer?
Exactly.
Oh, easy.
Exactly.
With all the
Exactly.
crazy stuff, someone would call that a threat.
Hang on, I thought this was turning into a business proposition.
No, we have to admit that was a joke. We almost have to nowadays. Yeah, it's like just like no, I don't love Rosie O'Donnell, but she put out a tweet. Next thing you know, Ben Shapiro, and then Ben's on Fox News actually defending, saying that she put out a tweet saying that she'd pay these people $2 million a piece to vote against the tax plan. That's bribery. Yep. It is. But she did it in front of everyone that has Twitter, that can get everyone. It's not private. So, no, it's not. It's not bribery. Anyway, there you go. It's just the same thing to me.
I suppose the thing we're always trying to do is to find out why, isn't it? That's the great unanswered question to everything in life. And I mean, over the last 10 years, I mean, the amount of daftness in terms of just everyday politics that affects our lives has just gone completely mad. Because who just thought back at the turn of the century we'd be having these discussions about more than two genders, and people getting potentially fired for misgendering a teenager who thinks that they're not a male or a female, and all this other third wave feminism bringing in all this crap about toxic masculinity and mansplaining. And I mean, I just want to know, when did it all suddenly start changing so radically? What did I miss? Did I pop out and have a piss when somebody came up with all this crap and suddenly implemented it before I came back?
See, things like this happen by slow change. And the way that it seems to me, and this is only an opinion, it seems to have been the fact that, I mean, Richard has obviously said exactly the same thing. I think that this started in the late 70s, early 80s, where teachers were starting to interact with people saying that women need to do this, women need to do that, men can be able to do this and do that. And I think that's where everything started, because everything seemed to have stemmed from schools. And that's one of the things that Animal Farm... The reason why I keep on bringing up Animal Farm is because I read it yesterday. And one of the things that Animal Farm actually brings up is the fact that if you want to educate people, don't educate the populace at this moment in time, educate the new populace, because then they will be brainwashed and they will follow you no matter what. The population in itself still have free think because they've seen what has happened before. But the new population, as in schools and pupils and things like that, don't know what's happening. Hence why we've moaned at everybody in universities, having the point of going, oh, socialism can work, because they never seen what happened in the late 70s. They don't have parents that were born in the late 70s that were able to tell them last time Labour were in charge, when you had the 3-day week, when bins were piling up on the streets and they were smog in the air, and the fact that electricity kept on dying out every 2 minutes because people were on strike all the time. They don't tell you things like that. They don't tell you the fact that the trains didn't work very well because they were never cleaned. They don't tell you the fact that the sandwiches that were supposed to be on there were absolutely horrible and things like that. They don't tell you those type of things because they didn't live it. So what do? You disconnect with the people that do know that, and you indoctrinate the new youth that's coming through to say it's a good idea.
Well, they're saying there, aren't they, that was it half of millennials actually think that socialism is a good idea?
Exactly, because indoctrination.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem is obviously, like you said, indoctrination from the teachers, but also the legacy that the boomers have left for them, which is they've had all the good pensions, they've had all the good jobs, they had house prices that were affordable, they had living standards that were improving, and then they've got to the sort of generation X and then the millennials, no, as X generation Y, sorry, and then you've got a situation where they are going to be the first generation for nearly 100 years that are going to be poorer than their parents, and they're obviously thinking to themselves, this system doesn't work, this system is fucking us over, we want to try something else. So when somebody comes along, you know, the teachers start filling their heads with about how wonderful socialism will be, because it'll be taking money off those, well, like you said, like the oppressors who have all the money, and give it to you lot who are obviously the oppressed. Yeah, exactly. They're going to think it's a wonderful idea, and that's why you know, Corbyn has got this ridiculous sort of cult around him, and why, you know, people seem to think he's like a, you know, he's the Messiah, but he's not. He's a very naughty boy.
Indeed, very, very naughty, to the point where Venezuela is his, should we say, shining star, and yet is disintegrating as we speak.
Yeah.
But yes, that's the socialism that he wants, which I found absolutely funny. When Venezuela wasn't working, he wanted to use the idea of the Scandinavian countries, the Scandinavian backbone, so to speak, which is absolutely funny. The Scandinavian countries were almost completely socialist, but then they realized that everything was fucking up. So what they had to do was capitalize everything again. And actually, they're slowly and slowly becoming more capitalist every single day.
That's right, yeah. Because, I mean, that's a lot of confusion people have about places like the Scandinavian countries, and even this country post World War II, is they assume that we voted in a Labour Party that basically turned us into a socialist state, but it wasn't. What they did, it's remained a capitalist system, but it was a capitalist system with a welfare state. There is a difference between the two, which is basically a safety net was put under the working class, so that you know, should they ever fall on hard times, they would have an income to tie them over. They had obviously the NHS and various other state-run companies. Admittedly, most of them, by the time we reached the 60s and 70s, had become massively unionized and become very militant. And
well, I think that's where the problem was. Everything turned to unions. If they didn't have the unions, everything would have worked properly. And you say something about the NHS. Did you know in 1954, the Conservative Party actually decided that they were going to pump shit tons of money into it again to actually make sure that they keep it alive? They actually believed in the idea of the NHS at that point in time. So when people go and say, oh, the Conservatives, all they want to do is destroy it, that's not true. In 1954, they actually pumped loads of money into it to keep it going, because they believe in the good ideas of it. They just think that there should be a private sector next to it to ease off the pressure.
Yeah, nothing wrong with a bit of competition, is there?
Exactly.
I mean, most people say that the American system, healthcare, is actually one of the best in the world. It's bloody expensive. But the trouble with ours is, yes, it's free at the point of entry, but like most things run by the state, it is so bloated, and so many what's called, you know, non-jobs and managerial positions that do absolutely nothing. And then you'll get money starved from the areas that do need it, and then you get apathy in the staff. It's just... And then, of course, with other problems as well, if the state runs your healthcare, then they're the ones who also are the ones telling you what you need to do to be healthy. They're the ones who come up with all the, you know, the things like stop smoking, and this is how you'll do it. Stop being fat, and this is how you'll do it. I mean, one of the things I saw, I can't remember what it was called now, that 5-step thing they came up with a few years ago, which is try and stop people being fat, which was, oh, stop drinking full fat Coke, just drink Diet Coke instead, without actually bothering to look into any of the science of the sweeteners that they put in it.
Makes people fatter.
Oh, good old aspartame. Good old aspartame.
And it makes people fatter is what any correlational study shows. People that drink, for whatever reason, they think that it leaves you so hollow because you get the sweet taste and stuff, but you don't get any sugar like that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if your microphone is roboting at all, if you just want to speak again, Ogre.
Oh, is it?
No, that's fine. It's come back.
Oh, okay. No, and it's not a big deal. I was just piping in.
No,
sometimes what people say is good for you isn't, and that's one of those things. Diet soda pop is not good for you. It's bad for you. Every study that I've ever seen shows that it makes people fatter. Doesn't make them skinnier. It's not terrible advice. Doctor says that. It's like a doctor saying, "Oh, you got tuberculosis. You got consumption." 150 years ago, smoke cigarettes. That'll help you.
Yeah, no, it's funny to me. No, it's funny to me. If you ever want to know or ever want to think that the government doesn't actually know what the hell they're talking about, ask the NHS to describe to you how many times they flip-flop on the idea of breastfeeding children.
Oh, yes.
1 minute it's good, next minute it's bad. 1 minute it's good, next minute it's bad.
Yeah. And, of course, the what's the MRA, what's called jabs that they kept what's called changing their minds on as well?
Yes.
Where they were 1 minute recommending it, then they were telling parents not to bother, and yeah.
Yep. No, correct.
Not that we're saying that we don't like the NHS. The idea, of course, is fundamentally a good thing, which is everybody has the right to healthcare. But like everything, it is, especially state-owned, it is run piss poorly, and it is open to so much abuse, especially at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I disagree with you on that is I don't think everybody has the right to healthcare. It's not okay. Everybody has a chance to be able to provide a service. If you're a doctor and your service is to be able to help people or cure people, then that doctor has every right to charge for it. So to have the point of right of having medical care, I don't believe that. I like the idea of our NHS. I'm not going to go and say that we should all be privatized, but I'm just saying I don't think it's a right.
No, I'm agree with you. I don't think it's a human right like some people claim it is, but I do believe that the system we have is good, but I do believe it should be open to people who are actually paying into the system. The idea being is it free at the point of entry. No, free at the point of entry for taxpayers or people who have contributed.
Or
not
citizens.
Just yes, for citizens.
It was just easier to say that. I would say the only thing I would say on the NHS is, as you quite rightly touched on, that if it's completely and utterly run by the state, then it's going to be doomed to fail because the state is going to intervene in what it wants rather than what's best for the people. Now, if it was stately funded but run by the doctors and the administration of the doctors, then it would run absolutely smoothly. But then again, I suppose that's too capitalist for a socialist idea.
Yeah. I mean, what everything's great in theory, isn't it? You always just maybe this is why we need the robots to take over, because hopefully their programming will not include corruption.
Well, you never know. Somebody might slip a Trojan in or a worm. So look, folks, I really am going to very quickly break it back. Try to let y'all go there for a little bit because I knew I was just coming to an end. Mrs. Ogre came in, and what we're doing right now is not the most easy thing. And she was hungry like I was. I mean, you're hungry if you don't eat all day. And she guzzled her juice down. I did mine. Got lucky this time. Maybe it'll hit me later. If you do that, it can give you a little bellyache. Make you not feel that great. And also, I'm not going to dwell on it, because it doesn't help me to like think of a steak or something, but it's no food. It is one of that's why I advocate for fasting. I mean, it's more than just, and Bollocks would probably say the same thing he said, probably say Bollocks, it's fine, to each their own though. And for me, the act of denying yourself something that you can walk in the other room and get, it helps me. I don't know with what, but it does. So that's it, boys. Why don't we throw our 2 cents in and let me go make sure Mrs. Ogre's okay. And I got one last door to shut on my chickens. It is. I'll look so I'm not just making it up right now, because when I hit this button right here, the forecast pops up in Fahrenheit and in, it's a heat wave, and in Celsius. It's -9 Celsius right now, 15 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is a heat wave for lately. It's going to get down to 9 degrees Fahrenheit, which I don't know the conversion off the top of my head, but if it's -9 C and then 9, that must be -12, -14, something like that. Cold. Of course, that's not considering any wind. Anyway,
it's bloody cold.
Yeah, so I keep a door open for a long time just in case one chicken got out today and even got out of the fence and was wandering around trying to scrape and try to maybe hoping there was one more bug that they could find, even though ground's frozen down probably 2.5, 3 feet now, so they can get back in. And I go look. I take my flashlight out there, very bright flashlight, and hunt around, look everywhere. And I found them under wheelbarrows or tucked away somewhere. And I actually found one. My dog kept. I'll say it for my last word. So what do you say, boys? Last words, and we'll go our separate ways.
I'm fine with that.
Yep.
You're first, Magic.
Yeah, you're always low on man totem pole, Magic. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. I think what we'll take away from today is that we've got a few interesting conundrums coming up in years to come, especially if common sense's theory that once the machines gain some sort of sentience, do we have to start thinking about ethical conundrums? You could even have that argument about simple, everyday animals if you wanted to. But if something can think for itself and it can do things for itself and it has independent thought, is it technically alive? Is it a real living thing? I don't know. These are things we're going to have to think about.
I'm a real boy.
Was that real or rent?
Whatever.
But yeah, there's a lot of questions in life that I wish I had the answer for. I wish that, one day I could answer that big question that we all have in life, which is why. But maybe that's what is the meaning of life, is trying to answer the question why. Why are we here? What is our purpose? Where are we going? What will we become? But that's what it means to be human, perhaps. So for the new year, I hope everybody in the chat and the three of us will carry on asking that question why. And maybe one day we will find out the answer. And then we will probably be hunted down by the state because they don't want us to know the answer to the question why. Because if we did know the answer, we'd probably be as rich as they are. But, I don't know. I just generally would like to know certain answers to certain questions. I don't know if we ever will, but all we can do is keep asking the right questions. And if we get a knock on the door from the Secret Service, we know we probably asked the wrong one anyway. But anyway, thanks a lot, everyone. It's lovely chatting with you all again. Ogre, thank you very much. Common Sense, pleasure as always. And to everybody in the chat, you're all mental, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.
No worries. Thank you very much, Magic. That was not too bad. I will have to say that the answer to your question is 42.
I wrote it down, you bastard. Go ahead. Let's cross that out.
I'm disappointed because I wanted somebody in the chat to do that first, and they let me down.
At least you got to give it to us. Neither one of us said a word until you were completely done. We didn't interject it. That's funny.
Well, I kind of ruined it by going, I'm a real boy. But apart from that, I thought it was worth doing. I suppose my final word would be something that is just general. If you're going to say to other people that you should be doing this and you should be doing that, to the point of I should open my house up to other people to invite them in. And if you're telling me that, then you should do exactly the same thing. You should be the one showing us the way to do it, not just lamenting your points of view, lamenting your ideas. You should be the one showing us, leading us in that direction. Because if you were showing us and leading us and showing that there is nothing wrong and nothing is going to happen, and the idea of multiculturalism and everything else like that can be achieved, then you've got that point of people will follow you. If you lead by example, people will follow you. If you lead by talking to people and speaking a good speech, you will eventually be found out. People will ask, why are you not doing this? It's the same reason why we left the EU, or why we're leaving the EU. Sorry, let me correct myself. It's to the point that we realize that we are being dictated to and not actually receiving any benefits from it. Now, that's the reason why I did my earlier video today. You can go and have a watch of that if you want to. That's up to you. This is not a plug for it. But this is the point I was trying to make in the video, that you have particular people that are run by British and UK statistics and things like that that are coming out and saying, this is going to be bad, this is going to be worse, this is going to be absolutely horrible. But yet every time that they've ever said anything like that, it's never happened. And if it is happened, it's never been anywhere near as bad as what it is. And to the point of this economist that I was talking about before, he's a doctor of economy, and he's quite intelligent. I've linked everything in there and everything else like that. He comes out and he says, we've got more chance of being able to make, now this is his words, not mine, over £200 million a week. Now I remember a big old bus coming across saying that they would be able to make 350 million a week. Now, yes, I know there's a difference in 150 million, but he's not saying about that, about getting the refund from the NHS. He's saying about this, about the refund to being able to buy your own food from smaller countries like New Zealand, like Australia, like going to Argentina, what we had in the 1970s before we joined the ECC, and then later on the European Union. That is what the point is. Most people do not look at what's actually going on in the world. They focus so small and what's going on around them that they don't see that there's actually a world out there. The fact that we can trade with America, the fact that we can trade with Canada, hell, the fact that we could trade with anybody that we wanted to. It wouldn't matter, anybody in Africa or whatever. And for everybody that's in Europe that says, oh, well, that just means that you'd have to pay more tariffs and things like that. Do you know who pays the most tariffs and highest tariffs in the world? Africa. If they want to trade with Europe, they pay the highest tariffs to be able to trade any of their goods. And they're the ones that are trying to say that they want equal opportunities and free trade for everybody. It's amazing that free trade comes with penalties and prescriptions, doesn't it? The idea, just because it says free trade, doesn't mean that it is free trade. And I think that's a lesson for all of us to learn in that. That just because somebody says that something is, doesn't mean it is. And I'll leave that there and I'll pass that over to Ogre.
Well, I sure appreciate it. And thanks both of you gentlemen for showing up. I was just looking to, Bollocks, if you can or someone can, I just copied and pasted the Common Sense guy out there in the chat. It's Common Sense guy if you haven't already. I'm sure you have, but if you haven't already, go out there and sub, watch all of his videos, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Jesus, you sound like Alex Jones.
Give him 30 quid to his personal what do you call it, PayPal for his computer thing if you find him interesting. Look, I'm stumbling now. You said Alex Jones. I just want to say they're putting glyphosates in the water and it's turning the frogs gay. All right.
I'm not the only one doing impressions then, Mr. Ogre. The next advert's on you, mate.
Oh, I've got a couple. Oh, if you want to, yeah. I actually did kind of think of that. And I may go Alex Jones on you, but I may, you never know. Someone's going to show up. I'll tell you right now, that's probably the best I got is Alex Jones as far as, dude, you sounded just like Sean Connery. All right, now let me get through this. Because I think what it is, it's like almost a personal challenge of Magic Bollocks. I'm like, no. He's like, he's going to get it out of me. Very crafty and sneaky you are. I've already got my eye on you, man. And anyway, so here we go. I'm looking desperately for your channel, mister. I got my eye on you. Where is it? There. No, it's Manic Idiot. Just send out, if you will, tweet that out, whatever it's called here. Send it out in the general chat. A link to your channel. Go by and check that out too. Same thing applies to everybody here. Give them money if you think it's good and ask for it. Don't if you can't, or if you don't like the content, whatever. You're not stealing, even if you have the money and decide not to give. Totally your business. We kind of do pride ourselves on not having any sponsors outside of ourselves. That's it. That's all we got. It's all we do. Don't bow or kowtow. That way we can say we can do whatever we want. So boom, yeah, if you care to go join a Discord. I'm going to say a couple things. It's very cool, very briefly now, because I just ate up half my time. It's nice when we fit in and it just, things seem to turn in their universal socket. not tonight. One time, I think we simultaneously, Common Sense Guy and I said, magic. Not even saying this to call you on the carpet or anything. It's just the way it was, because we both knew it was like, and there was, but for someone that's just coming on the scene with the two guys that have been doing this for a long time together, that happened once is incredible to me, because most people would just never get it and just would never be able to feel out when their time was. But to feel that happen when it's, I want to connect it to music. I really do. I play a few instruments, have been in a few bands, and it's the same thing. When I feel that universal joint click and all three of us start to turn, it feels much like falling in the pocket on a really good blues riff with some people that you know a little bit, or maybe just met, whatever the case may be. So that's it. Look for them connections in your life. Make them whenever you can. Cherish them. I was talking about chickens, man. I just want to tell y'all, never give up on anything. For about 2 days, when it was this bitter cold last year, my Doberman was acting funny. Lily was acting. No, Lily's not there. I was pointing at her. She must be in with Mrs. Ogre. She knows Mrs. Ogre's feeling bad. My Doberman was acting funny around a lawnmower that I had sitting there. And I looked, but I didn't see anything. And so I kind of didn't pay attention to it. Finally, I just was like, man, something's there. So and the king was here. Luckily, someone else was here. Man, I would have got it off. And I took a 2x4 and put it underneath, and it was frozen. The wind, and you couldn't see underneath the mower deck, if you know what I mean, where the blades are. When I pried it up, there was a chicken under there. It was so stiff, man. It was so stiff. I was like, at first I thought, oh, that poor chicken's dead, and it's so frozen to the ground, I won't even be able to bury it. I was already thinking, you know, when something like that happens in the winter, I'd take it way far from here. There's a lot of coyotes around. I toss up, the coyotes will get it, because you can't. I mean, the ground is frozen for 3 feet down. Anyway, brought that. It was alive. Brought the chicken in, put it in my cage with my blind bird that I had thought out. It's among the flock now, and it just reminded me of this crazy story about a guy that had 100 sheep. One of them got out, and even though he had 99, he couldn't just go in that night. You know, that's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to take, and it's bitter cold, I'm telling you, because that's when I'm telling you the temperatures that I said earlier. I'm only telling you the dead air temperatures. The wind is blowing out of the west right now. Not much, maybe 6-8 miles an hour. But you add that to, you know, -12°C, it feels like -30°C on your face, you know, anything. But my beard, by the time I just out for 4 or 5 minutes, I'll already have icicles in my beard, frozen. You spit on the ground, it's frozen. But though I have all the others in the nest, it is important to me if I had even one out of the nest. That is one of the most important lessons I think that human beings ever could learn. I think that I have to give a little credit right now as I wrap this up to Jordan Peterson, because I probably wouldn't mention that story even in the vague way that I did, because it's a parable from Jesus Christ. I'll just be blatant about it. About the guy that had 100 sheep and one was out, because he went through hell that night, man, storming, and he found his lost sheep. It was important to him. But he's going through the Bible and showing about how, regardless of what you think of it, if it's a myth or not, there are some good lessons to be learned. And the one from there, I always want to keep with me, and I hope you do too, that we should appreciate all that we have and be willing to, especially for the people that we care about, be willing to go pretty far to make things click and work and move in that universal socket that I was talking about, because you get that good feeling when you're playing music or trying to provide a little funny show for people to watch, and things are working well because of that human nature inside of all of us. That's why you get it. It's why a person feels it, because that's what we're meant to do. We're meant to be curious and to solve problems, and for some strange reason, to try to interact with one another and make each other understand how we think and feel and what motivates us. And remember, folks, be good to your friends, be good to your family members, be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge you'll never be able to forget about it. Because constant viewers, the time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life and everything you know will depart from you.